Memorist began with news anchors presenting news about a young man named Dong Bak who had supernatural ability to read a person's memory by touching their skin. The Department of Justice and a private research center then did research on Dong Bak to prove if he truly had the ability to read a person's memory. After they investigated and did research on him, they found out that it turned out to be true. Not long after that, Dong Bak decided to join the police as a detective assistant. The Special Investigation Headquarters announced that with his supernatural ability, Dong Bak managed to solve 26 criminal cases that were difficult for the police to solve before. In an interview, Dong Bak said it was important for him to focus to read a person's memory. He also revealed about the reason why he joined the police. In the evening, Dong Bak was heading to the police station. He walked to the interrogation room and touched the neck of a man there to read his memory. After that, Dong Bak and his team went to an abandoned warehouse to capture a murderer named Choi Poon-won. When they arrived there, Dong Bak attacked Poon-won right away. He kicked him in the face and beat him up. In another place, a criminal profiler named Han Sun-mai was investigating a criminal case. She looked at the pictures that were taken at the crime scene. She found out that the murders always happened on Tuesdays and the murderer used a hammer to murder their victims. At the police station, Dong Bak's partner, Oh Si-hoon, rushed to Dong Bak's room and asked him to watch the news on television. In that news, it was announced that Dong Bak was fired from his position because he committed violence by attacking Poon-won another day. A group of people also discussed that what Dong Bak was doing, which was reading a person's memory without their consent, was a form of human rights violation. After that, Dong Bak's superiors asked Dong Bak to attend the disciplinary hearing regarding his attack on Poon-won. The head of the entire police department, Lee Shin-won, decided to give Dong Bak a probation period for 2 months as a punishment. He said that the court would indict him for attacking Poon-won. Later, Sun-mai informed Shin-won about the serial killer case that she was investigating. She said that they should create a team to investigate this case soon. Shin-won then asked her to take charge of this investigation and create a team to investigate this case. He also told her to keep this investigation secret from anyone, especially from Dong Bak. At a bus stop, a woman named Yoon Yi-rim got off a bus. She then walked down the street and talked to her mother on the phone. She told her mother that she almost arrived at home. But soon after she hanged up, she heard someone screaming. A woman suddenly ran into her and asked her to help her. That woman looked scared and ran away from that place. Yi-rim searched her phone that she accidentally dropped when that woman ran into her. When she found her phone, a man with a hammer suddenly showed up before her. The next day, a woman named Mrs. Kong rushed to the police station and begged Dong Bak to help her to find her missing daughter. Her daughter was called Yoon Yi-rim. She said that Yi-rim was missing last night when she was walking home. She said that the distance between their house and the bus stop were only 10 minutes away, but Yi-rim never made it home. She was afraid if something bad had happened to her daughter. Dong Bak apologized to her because he couldn't help her to find her missing daughter since he was still in a probation period. His superior threatened that he would fire him from his job if he did another mistake. After that, Dong Bak left the police station quietly. Si-hoon picked him up and the two of them headed to the place where Yi-rim was suspected to be missing. Turned out, when Mrs. Kong came to the police station and asked Dong Bak to help her to find her daughter, Dong Bak read her memory secretly. When Dong Bak and Si-hoon arrived in that place, they saw Chil Kyu, a detective from a special crime squad, interrogating some women there. Dong Bak went out of the car and told Si-hoon to stay in the car no matter what happened. He then approached Chil Kyu and his partner, Woon Jang. He teased Chil Kyu by telling Woon Jang the story when Chil Kyu failed to catch a criminal because he went to a horse race instead. Chil Kyu was mad when he heard that and punched Dong Bak in the face. Dong Bak and Chil Kyu then got into a fight, but Woon Jang broke up their fight. After Dong Bak finished reading Chil Kyu's memory, he left that place right away. In the car, Dong Bak told Si-hoon that there were some women who went missing on Tuesdays. Those women were found dead a week later. The Regional Investigation Unit was investigating that serial killer case. The third victim was named Kim Soo-kyung. She managed to survive that attack, but she was in coma right now. Meanwhile, Yi-rim finally woke up from her faint and found herself lying in a dark room in a basement. A man came to her room and gave her some food. He also turned on the television and showed her a video about a doctrine. Yi-rim cried in despair. When Dong Bak and Si-hoon arrived at a hospital where Soo-kyung was being hospitalized, they met Dong Bak's senior, Koo Kyung-tan there. Kyung-tan introduced Dong Bak to the head of the regional investigation team, Baim Young-soo. Kyung-tan told Young-soo about why they came to that hospital and promised that they would take the responsibility for any problem that might happen. Young-soo said that Yi-rim's missing case had nothing to do with the serial killer case that the police were investigating. But he finally allowed Dong Bak to read Soo-kyung's memory. But Dong Bak couldn't read Soo-kyung's memory well because Soo-kyung was unconscious. He only saw that there was another victim and continued to try to read her memory. But while he was doing that, he suddenly fainted and fell to the floor. In the investigation unit office, Sun-mai saw a profile of Soo-kyung, the victim who survived the attack of the serial killer. Soo-kyung was an art student and a former child actress. Her phone had been deactivated for 2 weeks. Since she lived alone, nobody reported her missing to the police. The CCTV footage showed that Soo-kyung went to a church on Tuesday 2 weeks ago. Sun-mai watched the CCTV footage when Soo-kyung was in the bus. She noticed that Soo-kyung's phone in the bus was different from the phone that Soo-kyung had when she was waiting at the bus stop. Those phones were produced by the same company, but they had different back cameras. So Soo-kyung had 2 phones. Sun-mai then ordered her team to find Soo-kyung's second phone. They managed to trace Soo Kyung's second phone and found out that it was deactivated when Soo Kyung went missing. But after a week, that phone was activated by someone. They suspected that the perpetrator was the one who had that phone. Sun Mai ordered her team to go to the location where Soo Kyung's second phone was traced. At the hospital, as soon as Dong Baek woke up from his faint, he called Young Soo and told him that there was another victim in the basement. He added that he saw a picture of a red pig and a small hammer in Soo Kyung's memory. He said that those clues might lead them to find the perpetrator. Young Soo told him that the police had found the perpetrator, but Dong Baek thought that they found the wrong person. Dong Baek believed that the person who kidnapped Yi Rim was the same person with the serial killer who had murdered those women. While Dong Baek was heading out of the hospital building, a man ran into him. He accidentally saw that man's memory and found out that he was the person who had murdered those women. He chased that man immediately, but he lost him along the way. He tried to find that man by touching people on the street to read their memories. He finally managed to find him again. But while he was chasing him, a car suddenly crashed into him. That man got into a taxi, but Kyung Tan stopped that taxi right away. When that man went out of the car, Si-hoom attacked and captured him. Dong Baek approached that man and touched him to read his memory. But turned out that man was not the serial killer who had murdered those women. He only saw that man in Soo Kyung's memory. That man stalked Soo Kyung after Soo Kyung broke up with him and beat her up 6 months ago. That man was named Park Sung Bum, Soo Kyung's ex-boyfriend. Dong Baek then touched him and read his memory again. In his vision, Dong Baek saw Sung Bum entering Yi Rim's room in the basement. Sung Bum showed Yi Rim a writing that told her to pass the doctrine test so that she could stay alive. If Yi Rim failed that test, then she would be tortured. Yi Rim needed to get 90 in that test to pass the test and stay alive. Meanwhile, under Sun Mi's order, the SWAT team was raiding a house in a location where Soo Kyung's second phone was found. But when they went inside that house, they only found 3 high school students there. Those students admitted that they found that phone on the street. In another place, Dong Baek met with a man named Oh Yun Tak. Yun Tak felt honored to meet a famous detective like Dong Baek. He gave his business card to him. Dong Baek called Yun Tak a manipulative pimp who deceived many aspiring actresses and manipulated them into sleeping with him, like what he did to Soo Kyung. He knew about all of that when he read Sung Bum's memory. When he read Soo Kyung's memory, he also saw Yun Tak raping and blackmailing Soo Kyung. He also noticed that there was a hammer tattoo on Yun Tak's chest. Dong Baek said that he came to see Yun Tak because he was looking for a serial murderer and he needed to read his memory. Yun Tak refused to help him to do that. He then invited people to their table so that Dong Baek couldn't attack him. Through the reflection on the table, Dong Baek saw Yun Tak calling someone. Right before Dong Baek attacked him, Yun Tak told his assistant to get rid of the evidence. Dong Baek then touched Yun Tak's neck and rushed to their company building. When he arrived there, he saw the regional investigation team already searching that place. Yun Tak's assistant, Kim Min-gon, had destroyed the evidence that Yun Tak asked him by burning it in the microwave. After that, he tried to run away from that place by climbing down the building with a rope, but unfortunately, he lost his grip and fell to the ground. In the investigation unit office, Sun Mi found out that Soo Kyung's ex-boyfriend Sung Bum attacked Soo Kyung 6 months ago. Sung Bum attacked her because he felt disgusted by her. He was mad when he found out that Soo Kyung sold herself to a pimp named Yun Tak. Sun Mi assumed that the serial murderer was the person who slept with Soo Kyung on the night she went missing. In the basement, another woman who was being held captive there asked Yi Rim about what day it was. That woman was named Lee Bo Yeon. Yi Rim said that maybe it was Monday because she was abducted on Sunday. Bo Yeon told her that the next day was an execution day because their kidnapper always killed someone on Tuesday. Sun Mi came to the hospital to talk to Yun Tak. She told him that his client was a serial killer, so she asked him about the man who slept with Soo Kyung on the night she went missing. But Yun Tak admitted that he had no idea about the client who slept with Soo Kyung that night. Sun Mi then came to Min-gon's room. She asked the same question that she asked Yun Tak, but Min-gon also admitted that he didn't know about the man who slept with Soo Kyung on the night she went missing. All he knew about that man was that he was the client number 13. Not long after that, Dong Baek came to that place, but Chil Kyu didn't allow him to enter Min-gon's room. Sun Mi came out of that room and introduced herself to Dong Baek as the leader of the investigation unit. Dong Baek told her that Min-gon's memory might reveal about the last person who saw Soo Kyung that night. He also said that he might find any clue in Min-gon's memory. After Sun Mi heard that, she allowed Dong Baek to read Min-gon's memory, but he needed to take the responsibility for any problem that might arise. Min-gon then signed a letter of agreement that stated that he gave his consent for Dong Baek to see his memory. But while Dong Baek was about to read his memory, prosecutor office's staff came to that room and arrested him for committing another violence. Sun Mi asked the prosecutor who led that team, Seok-do, if it tried to stop the investigation that she was conducting. She asked him if Yun Tak's client number 13 was the one who sent them there to stop their investigation, but Seok-do didn't answer her. Seok-do ordered his team to take Dong Baek with them instead. After they left, Sun Mi told her team that their next target was Northern Prosecutor's office. At the prosecutor's office, Dong Baek pretended to trip over. He told Seok-do that his sugar level was too low since he hadn't eaten anything that day. When they were about to enter the elevator, Dong Baek managed to remove his handcuffs and attacked Seok-do and his team. He then entered the elevator alone and headed to the room of the chief prosecutor, I'm Jong Yeon. But before he arrived there, he ran into Jong Yeon in front of the elevator. Suddenly, some police officers came to that place to arrest Dong Baek. While Dong Baek was attacking those police officers, Jong Yeon left that place quietly. Dong Baek read a police officer's memory to see where Jong Yun went. He finally managed to find him and stop his car. Jong Yun told his driver to take care of Dong Baek, but Dong Baek managed to defeat him. Then Dong Baek read Jong Yun's secretary's memory and smirked. Not long after that, some police officers came to that place and chased Dong Baek. Dong Baek quickly left that place after he read Jong Yun's secretary's memory. In his office, Young-soo gave Sun-mei a document about Jong Yun that he got from the National Intelligence Service. He informed her that Jong Yun was Yeon Tak's client who wanted to sleep with Soo Kyung. But when Soo Kyung was about to meet with Jong Yun that night, she was abducted by the serial killer. Since Soo Kyung didn't arrive, Jong Yun called his secretary to his house and asked her to sleep with him. Dong Baek also saw it when he read Jong Yun's secretary's memory. Sun-mei realized that she had accused the wrong person and left Young-soo's room. When she returned to the investigation unit office, she saw a blue dot on the screen that showed a location where Yi-rim went missing on Sunday. That location was only 16 kilometers away from the location where Soo Kyung's second phone was found. Sun-mei thought that Yi-rim was the serial killer's fifth victim even though she went missing on Sunday and not Tuesday. Dong Baek, Si-hoon, and Kyung-tan gathered in Mrs. Kong's house. Dong Baek told them that another murder would happen that day. He said that the serial killer always committed murders on Tuesdays. Because of that, they needed to focus to investigate this case and find the picture of the red pig that he saw in Soo Kyung's memory. He said that he would go to the west and told Kyung-tan and Si-hoon to go to the east and visit a pig farm and an animal feed manufacturing company in that area. Before leaving that place, Dong Baek promised Mrs. Kong that he would bring her daughter home safely. After that, Dong Baek went to a butcher shop and touched the workers there quietly to read their memories. Meanwhile, Kyung-tan and Si-hoon visited the pig farm and the animal feed manufacturing company that Dong Baek told them. They also visited a market and asked people there if they had seen a picture of a red pig like the one that they showed them. In another place, Sun-mei met with the high school students who found Soo Kyung's second phone. She asked them why they went to that house if they found Soo Kyung's second phone in Seoul. They told her that they used to scam people by using dating applications. They took the money from their clients who had booked places for dating. They said that 2 weeks ago they found a client who used their service. That client's date, Bo Yin, went inside their client's car and they headed to the hotel. But instead of using the highway, they headed there by using a small and quiet road. Bo Yin began to feel uneasy because of that and asked her date to pull over. She tried to get out of the car, but her date shocked her and threw her phone away. One of those high school students chased them right away because he was worried if their client abducted Bo Yan. But unfortunately, his motorcycle broke down. When he got off their motorcycle, he found Bo Yan's phone on the road. He had no idea where their client took Bo Yan to. After Sun-mei heard that, she ordered her team to investigate the whole Onha town, the area where Bo Yan was abducted. She also informed them about the car that her kidnapper was using, which was an old SUV with an unknown model. In Onha town, Dong Baek read the memories of people whom he encountered there. Suddenly, he received a call from Kyung-tan. Kyung-tan told him that the police sent all detectives to investigate the whole Onha town. He also told him about Bo Yun's missing case, a case about the woman who went missing at the three-way intersection. He said that the investigation unit would investigate all hotels and villas in Onha town. They suspected that the kidnapper was a member of the elite. At the police station, Sun-mei urged the police to investigate all hotels and villas in Onha town. But the head of the entire police department, Shin Wong, disagreed with her because the hotels and villas in that area belonged to the elite. And without a search warrant, it would be illegal for them to investigate those hotels and villas. If they insisted on doing it, then all detectives who were sent on that investigation would lose their jobs. Sun-mei said that she would take the responsibility for any problem that might occur from doing this investigation. But Shin Wong decided to fire Sun-mei from her position as a chief of staff instead. Sun-mei was disappointed when she heard that and left that place. At the hospital, the serial killer's third victim, Soo Kyung, finally breathed her last. The media began to announce the news about Soo Kyung's death and warned people that this serial killer's case began to get out of control. They also said that the police had failed to find the perpetrator and that there were at least 2 other women who were being held captive by the perpetrator. In the basement, Yi-rin was doing the doctrine test that her kidnapper gave her. As soon as the time was up, her kidnapper took her answer sheet. After her kidnapper left, Bo Yin, who was in another room, asked her if she managed to do her test well. Yi-rin said that she didn't know. Bo Yan told her that if she failed that test, then their kidnapper would kill after the sunset. In Onha town, Dong Baek arrived at the three-way intersection where Bo Yan went missing. He tried to imagine the moment where the high school student chased the SUV that was taking Bo Yan away. In the basement, Yi-rim and Bo Yan received the results of their doctrine tests. Yi-rim managed to get 90, meanwhile Bo Yan only got 75. The kidnapper then went to Bo Yan's room, took Bo Yan with him, put her in a tub, threw water on her, and brushed her off. Bo Yan cried and screamed in pain. In her room, Yi-rim closed her ears. She was scared when she heard Bo Yan screaming. She looked up at the ceiling and thought about taking her own life. But when she tried to hang herself, the ceiling collapsed and she failed to commit suicide. Yi-rim saw the hole of the ceiling and realized that she could run away from that place through that hole. So she climbed up the ceiling and crawled. When she crawled above Bo Yan's room, she saw Bo Yan crying in her room. Bo Yan heard her voice and looked up at the ceiling. Yi-rim whispered that she would get out of that place and call the police. Bo Yan got hysterical and said that she wanted to go with her. Their kidnapper heard her screaming and found out that Yi-rim was sneaking around that place. He tried to grab Yi-rim's leg, climb up the ceiling, and chased Yi-rim. Yirim screamed in fear and crawled as fast as she could. She finally managed to run away from that place after her kidnapper's clothes got stuck. She got out of the hole and found herself in a farm. But suddenly, her kidnapper showed up behind her. He took out his hammer from his bag and walked toward her. Dongbak arrived in a villa and saw a flag of a red pig there. Meanwhile, Sunmei arrived at the three-way intersection. Dongbak called Sihun as soon as he saw the flag of the red pig. But Sihun didn't answer his call because he was busy fixing his flat tire. Dongbak then took a picture of the red pig's flag and sent it to Sihun. He told him that he had found the picture of the red pig that they were looking for. But suddenly, the prosecutor's office staff came to that place. They attacked Dongbak and took him with them. In the van, Dongbak pretended to sleep, but he actually read those people's memories. He also pitted them against another. Because of that, the prosecutor's office staff got into an argument and lost control of their car, which resulted in their car crashing into a roadblock. After Sunmai visited the three-way intersection, she went to a cow farm. She looked around that place and didn't find anyone working there that day. She found it strange and suspected that the cow farm was only to cover and hide an illegal and dangerous activity. She then went inside a warehouse and found an old SUV there. She also saw a blood trail in the grass. While she was contacting someone, she suddenly heard someone screaming. She found a door to a basement and another blood trail in the stairs. She then climbed down the stairs and got into a gun battle with the kidnapper. When there was only one bullet left, Sunmei pretended to run out of ammunition. The kidnapper then showed up before her and Sunmei shot him in the stomach right away. Surprisingly, that man still managed to stand up and walk. When the kidnapper was about to attack Sunmei, Dongbak came to that place and stabbed him in the back. The kidnapper tried to run away, but Dongbak and Sunmei quickly chased him by following his blood trail. After a while, they finally saw that man praying in a room. But suddenly, that man decided to take his own life by jumping into the dark abyss. Shortly after that, Dongbak and Sunmei heard a woman crying. From the security cameras, they found out that Bo Yan and Yirim were being held captive in 2 different rooms there. Sunmei then went to Bo Yan's room and Dongbak went to Yirim's room. But when Dongbak arrived there, he saw Yirim lying dead on her bed with blood and wounds all over her body. Suddenly, the prosecutor's office staff came to that place. They attacked and arrested Dongbak again. This time, Dongbak didn't attack them back. He was too overwhelmed with sadness and guilt because he couldn't save Yirim. Not long after that, the forensics team arrived in that place. After they took care of Yirim's body, Mrs. Kong came to the mortuary to see her daughter. She said that she wanted to see her daughter's face for the last time. But the detectives there didn't allow her to see Yirim because Yirim's body was in bad condition. They were afraid if it would only make Mrs. Kong become sadder. The media began to announce the news that Han-Man Paiyang, the 30-year-old serial killer who had abducted and murdered many women, had taken his own life. The only victim who survived his attack was now receiving treatment in the hospital. In the evening, Young-soo came to the crime scene. Sunmai told him that after she read the data analysis, she believed that Man Paiyang wasn't the serial killer whom they were looking for. Unlike the profile of the serial killer, Man Paiyang didn't like to show off his victims, so Sunmai asked Young-soo to investigate this case carefully. She suspected that Man Paiyang was working with other men. Young-soo said that Sunmai should take charge of this investigation herself. He then appointed her as the superintendent of Special Investigation Headquarters. The next day, Sunmai ordered his team to investigate the whole crime scene carefully and interrogate everyone who had talked to Man Paiyang. She wanted to find out if Man Paiyang was working with other men or not. In the investigation unit office, Sunmai told everybody in the room that Man Paiyang's network might come from the elite since he had charisma that made him able to influence other people and attract their attention and admiration. Meanwhile, Man Paiyang had a low self-esteem and craved for success, so the man who used Man Paiyang must be a very successful man. Sunmai believed that Man Paiyang was only used by that man as his puppet. She assumed that the real perpetrator was now staying in a villa near the river, which was only 15 kilometers away from the cow farm where Bo Yeon and Yirim were held captive. The perpetrator could easily reach the villa in only 15 minutes by walking through the woods. In another place, the TVC crew received information about Zhang Yin, the chief prosecutor. That information was anonymously sent for Shin Won. The TVC then announced the news that the chief prosecutor from the prosecutor's office in northern Seoul, I'm Zhang Yin, had paid some women for sexual activity. One of those women was Siu Kyung, the victim of the serial killer Man Paiyang. So the TVC believed that it was not only an ordinary scandal. Based on the information that they received, they found out that Zhang Yin tried to stop the investigation of the serial killer case so that people wouldn't find out about the crime that he had committed. The TVC also suspected that the prosecutor's office arrested the detective Dong Baek because they wanted to hide this scandal. If this turned out to be true, then Zhang Yin could be arrested for abusing his power. Because of that news, Dong Baek was finally being released. Sti-hoon and Kyung Tan picked him up. After that, Dong Baek went to the hospital to talk to Bo Yan. Bo Yan was surprised to see him there. She recognized him as the famous detective with the supernatural ability. Dong Baek asked her to allow him to read her memory. But Bo Yan said that she had told everything to the police. She also asked Dong Baek to leave because she was afraid of the supernatural ability that Dong Baek possessed. Before leaving that place, Dong Baek told her that all of this was not her fault. He asked her not to blame herself for everything that had happened. After Dong Baek visited Bo Yan at the hospital, he went to Yirim's house. He apologized to Mrs. Kong because he had failed to save her daughter. He said that he should have come to that cow farm sooner. Mrs. Kong said that the incident that happened to her daughter was her own fault. She said that she was supposed to pick Yi-rim up at the bus stop that night. But since she fell asleep, Yi-rim decided to head home on foot. In the evening, Bo Yeon was waiting for Dong-bak in front of the police station. When Dong-bak approached her, Bo Yeon told him that this whole incident was her own fault. She said that it was her who made Yi-rim get killed in such a horrible way. She then reached Dong-bak's hand and let him read her memory. In her memory, Dong-bak saw Yi-rim trying to run away from Man Pyeon. Later, Dong-bak told Si-hoon and Kyung-tan about what he saw in Bo Yeon's memory. He found out that when Bo Yeon and Yi-rim were being held captive in the basement, they were forced to listen to a video about a doctrine. There was also a moment when the voice of the narrator suddenly changed. Then, when a victim was about to get murdered, she was also forced to listen to that video. But the voice of the narrator in that video was different from the voice of the narrator in the video that was played in the small television. It meant that the real serial killer was the man who narrated the video that was played in the small television. Dong-bak suspected that that man was present at the crime scene when his victim was murdered. In the investigation unit office, Sun-mei found out about the patterns in the serial killer's victims. She found out all victims received scholarships from the same foundation, the Foundation of Truth and Sky, when they were 10 years old except Yi-rim. That foundation had a villa near the river in Onna town. The foundation director, Park Gi-dan, was living in that villa. Sun-mei then went to the Foundation of Truth and Sky to talk to Gi-dan. When she arrived there, she saw Gi-dan praying for people to have good eternal life. In front of his followers, Gi-dan claimed that he was the god who had reincarnated. When Gi-dan saw Sun-mei in that place, he tried to approach her. But suddenly, Dong-bak touched his hand and staring at him with anger. Everybody in that place was surprised when they saw Dong-bak there. They recognized Dong-bak as the famous detective who possessed supernatural ability. When Dong-bak was about to beat Gi-dan up, Sun-mei stopped him right away. Dong-bak wanted to kill him, but Sun-mei asked him to step back. Then, Sun-mei apologized to them. Dong-bak said that he had seen Gi-dan's memory and found out that Gi-dan was a psychopath and serial killer. Gi-dan told Dong-bak that he received his supernatural ability from the devil. Dong-bak said that it was true that he was the devil, and he was the one who would take him to the hell. Gi-dan asked Dong-bak to repent, but Dong-bak attacked him instead. Dong-bak said that Gi-dan would soon find out about how it felt to be burned. After saying that, he left that place. Sun-mei followed him and berated him for behaving childishly. She said that what Dong-bak did was dangerous for their investigation since it made Gi-dan realize that he was the main suspect in this case. She thought that a temperamental person like Dong-bak was not supposed to become a police officer. Dong-bak was mad when he heard that. He saw with his own eyes in Gi-dan's memory how the victims screamed in fear and despair when Gi-dan raped them and then killed them. He said that he should have beaten Gi-dan up for that, but he still managed to stop himself. Before leaving, he asked Sun-mei to search the villa where Gi-dan lived. After that, Sun-mei went to the prosecutor's office in Central Seoul. She asked a prosecutor there to issue a warrant to search Gi-dan's villa in Onna town. But the prosecutor refused her request because they didn't have enough evidence. Besides, Gi-dan was a well-respected person who had many followers. He had good relationships with high-ranking government officials and judges. At the prosecutor's office in Western Seoul, Dong-bak met with a chief prosecutor called Yoo Ji-suk. Dong-bak told Jae-suk that he read Gi-dan's memory and found out that Gi-dan was the one who murdered those women. But Jae-suk said that what he saw in Gi-dan's memory couldn't be used as the evidence in the court. Dong-bak said that the investigation unit had indirect evidence and they needed to search Gi-dan's villa to find other evidence. He said that he saw the chief prosecutor from the prosecutor's office in Central Seoul kneeling in front of Gi-dan in his vision. He knew that that chief prosecutor had received a scholarship from Gi-dan's foundation, so the investigation unit would never receive a warrant from the prosecutor's office in Central Seoul. For that reason, Dong-bak asked Jae-suk to issue a warrant to search Gi-dan's villa. He said that he only needed to search Gi-dan's working room since Gi-dan kept his journal there. In that journal, Gi-dan wrote the details of the murders that he had committed. Dong-bak also said that he would turn himself into the police for attacking Po-won and Yeon Tak back then if Gi-dan was arrested and sent to jail. He continued to persuade Ji-suk to help him by saying that Ji-suk would become a national hero if she managed to capture Gi-dan, the real serial killer whom they had been looking for. After Ji-suk heard that, she finally agreed to issue a warrant to search Gi-dan's villa. After that, Ji-suk and her team went to Gi-dan's villa with the search warrant that they had issued. When they arrived there, they saw the investigation unit in front of Gi-dan's villa. After they showed the search warrant, the gate was opened and they began to enter the villa. Dong-bak and his team watched them from a spot. When Ji-suk's team and the investigation unit knocked on the door, the servant in that villa refused to open the door for them. Not long after that, Sun-min, Gi-dan, and Gi-dan's lawyer arrived in that place. Dong-bak noticed that there was a smoke coming out of the chimney. He realized that they were destroying the evidence. Then the door was finally opened. Everybody who had been waiting outside went inside that villa right away. When Ji-suk was in that villa, she saw the evidence that Dong-bak talked about getting burned in the fireplace. After her team searched the villa and didn't find other evidence, they finally left that place. Dong-bak was mad when he found out that Gi-dan had destroyed the evidence. He wanted to come to the villa, but Kyung-tan stopped him right away. He said that Ji-suk's team and the investigation unit might be in trouble if Dong-bak did that. He reminded them that it was illegal for them to search that villa with only what Dong-bak saw in Gi-dan's memory. Besides, the teams didn't find any evidence after they searched that villa. Following the search in Jidan's villa, Dong Bak received a letter from the Judiciary and Legislation Committee. In that letter, the Judiciary and Legislation Committee summoned Dong Bak to a legislative meeting. On the news, the Judiciary and Legislation Committee asked Dong Bak to ask for consent before he decided to read a person's memory. They also said that they didn't have any intention to embarrass Dong Bak in that legislative meeting. They only wanted to hear Dong Bak's explanation about the search in Jidan's villa. The next day, Kyung Tan and Si-hoon took Dong Bak to the legislative meeting that was held by the Judiciary and Legislation Committee. On their way there, Si-hoon suggested Dong Bak in that legislative meeting to state that he would never read a person's memory without their consent and would receive any punishment if he did that. They knew that the Judiciary and Legislation Committee planned to use this legislative meeting to pass the bill about the prohibition to read a person's memory without their consent. If the National Assembly passed the bill about the prohibition to read a person's memory without their consent, then Dong Bak couldn't use his ability anymore. Kyung Tan suggested Dong Bak to beg the judge not to fire him from his job and kick him out of the police. During the meeting, the Judiciary and Legislation Committee asked Dong Bak if he read the memories of the people whom he attacked without their consents, and Dong Bak admitted that it was true. The Judiciary and Legislation Committee then said that reading people's memories without a warrant was illegal and serious violation. In his room, Jidan watched that meeting that was broadcasted live. He smiled when he heard that. Dong Bak got up from his chair and said that he knew who was the real serial killer whom they were looking for. He said that the killer chose beautiful women to be his victims and gave them scholarships. A few years after they received those scholarships, the killer ordered Man Pyong to abduct them. Then the killer raped them brutally and killed them by hitting them with a hammer for several times until they died. He justified those disgusting and horrible things that he did by claiming that it was his salvation from God. That killer was named Park Gi-gan, the famous leader of the religious cult. After that, Jong Yun held a press conference. He was now working as Gi-dan's lawyer after he resigned from his work as a prosecutor regarding his sex scandal. In that press conference, Jong Yun said that he would file criminal and civil lawsuits against Dong Bak for what he said about his client. He also informed that Jidan had resigned from his work and stayed away from the public for a while. In the evening, many journalists and protesters surrounded Dong Bak's apartment building. Sun Mai called Dong Bak and asked him if he was all right. She also thanked him for telling everyone about the truth. The next morning, a police officer named Min Sung-han picked Dong Bak up at his apartment building. Sung-han took Dong Bak to a crime scene. When they arrived there, Dong Bak was surprised to see Jidan lying dead there. There were blood and wounds all over his body. Sun Mai told Dong Bak that Gi-dan was murdered this morning. She asked him to read the memories of the witnesses. She said that those witnesses had agreed to give their consents. Dong Bak then began to touch those witnesses and read their memories. After he finished doing that, he told Sun Mai that he didn't see Jidan's murderer in their memories. It was like someone had erased their memories when Jidan's murder took place. Dong Bak found it strange that there were 20 people around Gi-dan that time, but none of them saw the murder. He suspected that there was someone with supernatural ability like him who had erased those memories. Sun Mai said Dong Bak was the only person who possessed supernatural ability whom she knew. For that reason, Dong Bak would be the main suspect in this case. Dong Bak said that his ability could only allow him to read a person's memory, not to erase their memory. But Sun Mai said that it was only him who knew about the truth. Dong Bak was annoyed when he heard that. He told Sun Mai to show him his arrest warrant and stormed off. After Dong Bak left, Sung-han told Sun Mai that Dong Bak stayed in his apartment all night. There were also many journalists and protesters who watched him and surrounded his apartment building. So it was unlikely that Dong Bak was the one who had murdered Jidan. Dong Bak went to another room and checked that place. In that room, he saw a painting hanging on the wall. That painting somehow reminded him of the time when his mother was dying. Then Dong Bak looked up baptism of fire on the internet. Not long after that, Kyung Tan and Si-hoon came to that room. They brought a man with them. That man told Dong Bak that the painting in that room was delivered to that address by a truck, but there was no information about the sender. That man said that Jidan liked that painting very much. He would stare at it for hours every day. Dong Bak said that the person who gave that painting to Jidan was mocking him because that person changed the sword in the painting into a claw hammer. It meant that the real serial killer whom they were looking for was the person who sent that painting, and not Jidan. Dong Bak told Kyung Tan and Si-hoon that they needed to trace the truck that delivered that painting to that address soon. Suddenly, a woman came to that room. She claimed that she saw the truck that delivered that painting to that address. Kyung Tan asked for the license plate of that truck, and that woman said that she didn't know. But she said that she saw the phone number that was printed in large size on that car. That woman then asked Dong Bak to read her memory and take a picture together. In that woman's memory, Dong Bak saw the phone number on the truck that woman was talking about. At the police station, Sun Mai told the head of the entire police department, Shin Won, that she suspected Dong Bak as the person who had murdered Jidan. Shin Won then gave her a document about Dong Bak that he got from the National Intelligence Service. He asked her to find information about Dong Bak that hadn't been revealed to the public. In the investigation unit office, Sun Mai showed Dong Bak's document to her team. From that document, it was revealed that when Dong Bak was 7 years old, he was found by the train driver at a train station. The train driver asked him about his name, but Dong Bak didn't answer him since he was unable to speak. Dong Bak was then taken to a care home for people with disabilities and moved to the orphanage not long after that. Dong Bak was named after the train station where he was found back then, Dong Bak Station. When Dong Baek was 20 years old, he revealed his supernatural ability to the public. He refused all job offers that would give him millions of dollars per year and decided to join the police and become a detective with a salary of $2,000 per month instead. He also refused to accept international fund. Then Sun Mei and her team watched CCTV footage in Dong Baek's apartment building. They noticed that the motion sensor light in the staircase turned on at 12 in midnight and 4 in the morning. Sun Mei thought that Dong Baek came out of that apartment building through the roof hatch to kill Jae-dan. Sun Mei and her team then went to Dong Baek's apartment building. While they were climbing up the stairs, the motion sensor light in the staircase turned on automatically. Then they went to the rooftop and checked that area. Sun Han said that Dong Baek needed to jump to another building to get out of that apartment building without being noticed by the journalists who surrounded that place. Chil Kyu thought that it was impossible for Dong Baek to jump to another building in the night because it was dark there. If Dong Baek made a mistake when he jumped, he would fall and die. Dong Baek was also known as a person who hated murder, so it was unlikely that he was the one who murdered Jae-dan. A detective named Ki Da informed Sun Mei that they found anesthetic gas in the place where Jae-dan was found dead. He assumed that 20 people who were present when Jae-dan's murder took place lost their consciousness because of that gas, not because of Dong Baek's supernatural ability. But Sun Mei said that she still suspected Dong Baek. After that, Sun Mei went to the hospital to talk to Dr. So Yoon, Dong Baek's personal doctor. Dr. So Yoon told Sun Mei that there were around 4,000 local and international doctors who took care of Dong Baek. It was an honor and a great chance for them to study and take care of a special person like Dong Baek. For that reason, they were very careful about any information that they found after studying Dong Baek. So Dr. So Yoon refused to share any information about Dong Baek to Sun Mei. Dong Baek, Kyung Tan, and Si-hoon finally met the driver of the truck that delivered the painting to Jae-dan's place. When they interrogated him, that driver admitted that he didn't see the man who sent that painting. He said that he just picked the painting up in front of his door. The sender also asked him to write on the package that it was from anonymous donor. The driver then gave Dong Baek the address of the villa where he picked the painting up. When Dong Baek, Kyung Tan, and Si-hoon arrived in that villa, they found out that the door was unlocked. They then entered that villa and saw a woman lying dead on her desk. That woman was named Yeom Hwa Ran. She died at the age of 30 and her parents lived abroad. There was a bottle of methanol alcohol on her desk. Dong Baek also noticed an odd number that was written on the newspaper and a sketch of a man holding a knife and another man kneeling before him. In Hwa Ran's memory, Dong Baek saw Hwa Ran being chained by her kidnapper and exploited to paint for him. When Hwa Ran was thirsty and asked for a glass of water, her kidnapper gave her a bottle of methanol alcohol instead. Not long after that, the investigation unit arrived in that place. Dong Baek told his team that Sun Mei and her team had been following them because they suspected him as the person who murdered Jae-dan. When Sun Mei and her team entered the villa, Dong Baek told them that the person who murdered Hwa Ran was the same person who had murdered Jae-dan. He said that it was a serial killer case. Suddenly, Sun Mei noticed the sketch of a man holding a knife there. She looked surprised when she saw that sketch. After that, Sun Mei ordered her team to find information about Hwa Ran. The team found out that Hwa Ran once drove under the influence of alcohol and killed someone in a car accident. But strangely, she never received any punishment for killing a person in that car accident. It was also the third time for her to drive under the influence of alcohol. After her case was closed by the court, Hwa Ran even published an offensive post on her social media where she took a picture with a glass of champagne. She celebrated her victory for not going to jail even though she had killed a person in a car accident. Sun Han informed Sun Mei that they had searched all villas in that neighborhood and found out that all of them were empty since those villas were weekend villas. The owners of those villas only visited that place when they were on vacation. So there was nobody around when Hwa Ran's murder took place. Sun Mei then ordered her team to find any witness near the villa neighborhood. Dong Baek interrupted her by saying that 20 people who were present when Jae-dan was being murdered didn't even remember anything, so it was impossible for them to find any witness in that villa neighborhood. Sun Mei was annoyed when she heard that. She asked Dong Baek to leave. After Dong Baek left, Sun Mei and her team continued to discuss about Hwa Ran's death. The Special Crime Squad assumed that the perpetrator killed Jae-dan and Hwa Ran because they deserved to die. They thought that the perpetrator wanted to punish them for what they did to their victims. Outside the building, Dong Baek investigated the odd number that was written on the newspaper and finally found out about what it meant. The odd number referred to an article that was published on a newspaper 20 years ago on October 6, 2000, on page 19. That article was about a special interview with Professor Nam Myung-moon. It was titled "A National Support System is Needed for the Victims of Crimes." After that, Dong Baek, Kyung Tan, and Si-hoon headed to the hospital where Professor Young-moon was being hospitalized. On their way there, Si-hoon watched a documentary that featured Professor Young-moon. In that documentary, Professor Young-moon urged the government to provide the victims of crimes with the support that they needed. That documentary also showed the life of a young girl who lost her father due to a murder. They wanted to show that it was not only the victims who suffered losses from the crimes that were committed against them, but also the people around them. It would be difficult for those people to face their losses by themselves, so they needed support and help from other people. At the hospital, the doctors performed an autopsy on Hwa Ran's dead body. After they finished performing that autopsy, they informed Sun Mei that Hwa Ran died due to methanol poisoning. They also found 300 grams of stones inside Hwa Ran's stomach. It seemed that the killer held a strong grudge against Hwa Ran that he forced her to eat those stones. Then Ki-da entered the room and informed Sun Mei that the number on the newspaper was written with Hua Ran's blood. But after they investigated the crime scene, they found another blood there. It meant that there was another victim who was taken to that villa. When Sun Mei returned home, she looked at the pictures that were taken at the crime scene and the number that was written on the newspaper. Then she called the investigation unit and asked them to send her an article that was published on October 6, 2020 on page 19 in that newspaper. After that, Sun Mei looked at the picture of a painting that she took in the villa and compared it with a picture of the painting that was published by Hua Ran in her social media. She found out that the painting had been turned upside down. Dong Baek, Kyung Tan, and Si-hoon finally arrived at the hospital. They found out that Professor Young Moon suffered from Alzheimer. Dong Baek asked the nurse to give him the phone number of Professor Young Moon's family. Si-hoon said that he would accompany the nurse to contact Professor Young Moon's family and asked them to allow her to give their phone number to Dong Baek. After Si-hoon and the nurse left that room, Dong Baek began to read Professor Young Moon's memory. But before he read his memory, he showed him the documentary that featured him in his interview. In Professor Young Moon's memory, Dong Baek saw a young girl drawing a picture of her father who had been murdered. Suddenly, that young girl cried and covered her ears. She also looked very scared. Dong Baek told Kyung Tan that the drawing that young girl made was similar with the sketch of a man holding a knife that was found at the crime scene. Dong Baek thought there was a picture of a vase. Suddenly, Professor Young Moon opened his mouth. He said that Kim So-mei was there when her father was getting murdered. When she had a panic attack, her body would shiver and she would keep repeating the same prayer, which was the guardian angel prayer, to calm herself down. She thought that she could only ask for help from the guardian angel because they had been protecting her all this time. In her prayer, So-mei would ask them to protect her body from the sharp blade of all evil and guide her to light and goodness. After that, Dong Baek came out of the room and told the nurse that they had finished doing their investigation. At the parking space, Shil-kyu had been waiting for him in his car. He and his partner had been following Dong Baek and his team. Dong Baek saw them, but he ignored them. When Dong Baek was about to open his car door, he suddenly realized that the drawing that young girl made was not a picture of a vase, but a picture of a keyhole. He realized that young girl saw her father getting murdered through a keyhole. Dong Baek then ordered Kyung Tan and Si-hoon to get a document about a murder that took place 20 years ago. Meanwhile, he would go somewhere else to do something. Shil-kyu told Woon Jang that he would follow Dong Baek by himself because he needed Woon Jang to find out about what Dong Baek and his team did at that hospital. Woon Jang agreed to do that. But when Shil-kyu was about to get inside their car, Dong Baek suddenly stole their car and left that place with their car. In the car, Dong Baek tried to call Sun Mei, but Sun Mei didn't answer her. Sun Mei arrived at the villa where Hua Ran was found dead. She entered that villa and noticed that there was a hole behind a painting there. She called the investigation unit and asked them to send a team to that place. She then removed that painting and went to another room through the hole behind that painting. Dong Baek called the investigation unit and asked them about Sun Mei's location. He told them that Sun Mei was in danger. As soon as he found out that Sun Mei was in the villa where Hua Ran was found dead, he changed his direction and rushed to that place. He also urged the investigation team to send a team to that location soon because Sun Mei had been trapped. The investigation unit tried to call Sun Mei, but Sun Mei didn't answer their call. Sun Mei followed the arrow in that room and saw through the keyhole. When she opened the door, she found 2 statues there. She checked those statues and got shocked when she found out that those statues were made of human corpses. She began to recite the guardian angel prayer. 20 years ago, when Sun Mei was a child, she got frightened by the sound of the thunder. Her father tried to comfort her by asking her to pray and think about her mother who had passed away. He said that her mother was her guardian angel. So if Sun Mei was afraid or having a difficulty, she should pray to the guardian angel to help her. At school, Sun Mi joined an international mathematics competition and managed to win a gold medal. When she returned home, she prayed to the guardian angel and told her mother about it. After that, she went to bed. In the midnight, she woke up because she heard someone groaning in pain. She saw through the keyhole to see what happened and got shocked when she saw her father being stabbed with a knife by a man. She noticed that there was a scar near the ear of that man. Sun Mi cried and got frightened. She began to recite the guardian angel prayer. Back to the present time, Dong Baek finally arrived in the villa and found Sun Mi. Sun Mi asked him how he knew that she was there. Dong Baek said that the investigation unit told him about her location. He said that he was worried about her, so he rushed to that place. But Sun Mi still stayed alert because she still suspected that Dong Baek was the person who had murdered Ji Dan and Hua Ran. Dong Baek told her that he went to the hospital and met with Professor Young Moon. He knew that the young girl named Kim So-mei in that documentary had changed her name into Han Sun Mei. Sun Mi was surprised when she heard that. She thought that Dong Baek knew about her past because he read her memory when she stopped him from attacking Ji Dan. But Dong Baek said that he couldn't read a person's entire memory with just a small touch. He said that he only saw a blurred picture of what seemed like a black vase from a traumatic event in her memory. Then, when he saw Professor Young Moon's memory, he saw So-mi drawing the same picture. He realized that that picture was a keyhole, not a black vase, and So-mi saw her father getting murdered through that keyhole. That was how he knew that So-mei and Sun Mi were the same person. Sun Mi said that the killer knew about her past too. Dong Baek told her that the killer didn't only mock her, but also mocked him. He said that the killer was after them both. He then showed her the picture of the painting that was sent to Ji Dan. He told her that he couldn't remember his own past. All that he could see in his own memory was a woman who was dying. In that painting, an angel stepped on a man with a sad face. That man's sad face reminded him of the face of the dying woman whom he saw in his memory. Dong Baek thought that the dying woman was his mother. Whomever the killer was, he knew about his memory and mocked the only memory that he had. So he and Sun Mai had the same enemy. After that, Dong Baek checked the human corpses that Sun Mai found. From the wounds in a victim's leg, Dong Baek found out that those victims attacked each other before they died. He assumed that their killer made them attack each other because he promised that he would release one of them. Not long after that, the forensics team arrived in that place. They investigated the crime scene and the human corpses that Sun Mai found there. Sun Mai then asked Dong Baek to go to her apartment with her. She asked him to keep their investigation secret from everyone. In Sun Mai's working room, Dong Baek saw the pictures of the criminal cases that had been solved by Sun Mai. Sun Mai asked him why the killer tried to lure them into his trap by using those human corpses. She also wondered about what the killer got from mocking them and why he brought up the murder that took place 20 years ago. Sun Mai suggested that they pretended to follow his game and figured out about his weakness. Suddenly, Sun Mai received a call from the investigation unit. They informed her about the identities of the victims who were found in Hua-Ran's villa. Those victims were women and they died at the age of 20. It was revealed that they were the murderers of a girl 6 years ago. Those women admitted that they murdered that girl because they were jealous of her for being treated nicely by their crush. When they murdered that girl, they were only 14 years old. Since they were underage, they didn't receive any punishment for murdering that girl. 5 years after the murder took place, those women chatted and mocked the girl they had murdered. A screenshot of their chat got viral and the society demanded the police to punish those women, but the police didn't do anything. Dong Baek realized that the killer was trying to take revenge on bad people who had committed crimes because the law didn't side with the victims. He said that the killer was getting rid of the devils in horrible ways. Sun Mai told him that she also found a case like that 20 years ago. She called that case the executioner case. She then began to tell Dong Baek about her father's case. A few years ago, Sun Mai, or was previously known as So Mei, came to the police station and talked to a detective named Chung Ki-soo. She gave him some journals that contained her analysis about the profile of her father's murderer. She told him that she had completed her master in criminal psychology in the United States at the age of 17. She remembered that her father's murderer had a scar near his left ear. She asked Ki-soo to use her analysis to find the man who had murdered her father. But Ki-soo refused to do that. After that, So Mei came to see a journalist named Jo Sung-dong. She also gave him some journals that contained her analysis about the profile of her father's murderer. She asked Sung-dong to verify some documents to help her to find her father's murderer. But Sung-dong refused to help her and said that he was a journalist, not a detective. Then, So Mei returned to the police station and talked to Ki-soo again. She told Ki-soo that the man who had murdered her father was Jo Sung-dong. But Ki-soo didn't believe her because Sung-dong was a famous and bright journalist. So Mei showed him her journal where she analyzed 5 murder cases that had same patterns. In those murder cases, the victims were the people who had been criticized and the exclusive reports on those 5 murders were written by Jo Sung-dong. So Mei found it strange that Sung-dong always arrived at the crime scene before anyone else. So Mei explained that 20 years ago, after her father's murderer left their house, So Mei came out of her room and called 119. After that, she came out of her house and walked in the rain. Before she lost her consciousness and fell, she saw a man standing outside of her house. That man was Jo Sung-dong. He came to that place even before the police and the ambulance arrived in that place. There was also a scar near his left ear. After Ki-soo heard that explanation, he finally took Sung-dong to the police station. But after he interrogated him, he decided to release him. He told So Mei that he released Sung-dong because he had a strong alibi. He was with another person when the murder of So Mei's father took place. So Mei said that an alibi was not important. She suspected that Sung-dong were working with a group of people so that he could write exclusive reports. Ki-soo thought that she was being silly because nobody would murder a person for the sake of writing an exclusive report. He said that Sung-dong got his scar near his left ear when he served in the military. He also said that he had checked his phone, his movements, and his medical records, and he didn't think that Sung-dong was the person who had murdered So Mei's father. Back to the present time in her apartment, Sun Mai told Dong Baek that the executioner case began to take place in 1999 in the hiking trail. Back then, there were some people who abducted and killed their victims. Those killers were sent to jail for the crimes that they committed, but they were released from the prison after 2 years. The executioner then killed them and mutilated their bodies into 13 parts, the number of the murders that they had committed. From 6 executioner cases, there were 3 witnesses: an old man, a 50-year-old woman, and Sun Mai herself. Sun Mai said that she saw her father being stabbed for 17 times. 17 was the number of people who died because of her father. Then she showed CCTV footage near Ji-gan's place. That CCTV footage showed that there was a broadcasting van that arrived before the police came to that place. Sun Mai noticed that it had the same pattern with a murder case that took place 20 years ago. The next day, Dong Baek and Sun Mai went to the TVC broadcasting building. They showed the staff there the CCTV footage of TVC broadcasting van arriving at the crime scene before the police came to that place. Sun Mai asked them where they received the information about the murder that happened in that place, and Dong Baek guessed that they received that information from their superior. The TVC staff then took Dong Baek and Sun Mai to the TVC director, who turned out to be Sung-dong himself. When Dong Baek and Sun Mai arrived in Sung-dong's room, Sung-dong greeted Dong Baek warmly. He admitted that he was his biggest fan. Dong Baek asked him how he knew that Jie Dan died. Sun Mai guessed that Sung-dong knew it because the serial killer told him about it. She knew that it was not the first time for him to do that. 20 years ago, he also arrived at the crime scene before anyone else came to that place. Sun Mai accused him of working together with the murderer so that he could write an exclusive report on it. It was also possible that Sung Dong was the one who ordered his network to commit a murder so that he could write an exclusive report on it. Sung Dong asked what was their problem if he arrived at the crime scene before anyone else came to that place. He said that he came to the crime scene when the murder already took place. Sun Mai was mad when she heard that. She said that if he reported it to the police, he could have saved the victims who were murdered 20 years ago. Sung Dong said that the police knew about the murder case that took place 20 years ago, but they just hid it from the public so that it wouldn't destroy their career. The murderer just wanted to tell the world that he was getting rid of bad people who deserved to die. Sung Dong said that he disagreed with the murderer, but as a journalist, he needed exclusive reports. Then he told Dong Bak and Sun Mai to leave that place. In the car, Dong Bak received a call from Kyung Tan. Kyung Tan told him that he couldn't find any document about Sun Mai's father's murder case. Dong Bak asked who was leading the investigation back then, and Kyung Tan said that it was the head of the entire police department, Shin Won. In Sun Mai's apartment, Dong Bak and Sun Mai were discussing about Sun Mai's father's murder case. Dong Bak suspected that Shin Won covered up that case because he had many resources to solve that case. So he asked Sun Mai to investigate Shin Won. Sun Mai said that it was dangerous for them to do that since Shin Won had good relationships with the National Intelligence Service and the Special Forces. If they did that, they could be captured by Shin Won before they had the chance to find any evidence. Dong Bak finally decided to focus on catching the executioner. Since Sun Mai was the only witness who had seen the executioner, Dong Bak asked her to allow him to read her memory. At first, Sun Mai refused to do that. But after Dong Bak convinced her that she might miss important detail that night, Sun Mai finally allowed him to read her memory. In Sun Mai's memory, Dong Bak saw the murderer stabbing Sun Mai's father with a knife. That murderer was wearing a silicone mask that was usually used by actors in films. Then Dong Bak touched Sun Mai's arm again to see if there was another person at the crime scene. In Sun Mai's memory, Dong Bak saw the journalist Sung Dong in the crime scene. When Sun Mai fainted and fell that night, Sung Dong's photographer arrived in that place. After that, Sun Mai called the investigation unit and asked them about Sung Dong's photographer. The investigation unit told her that that photographer had been working with Sung Dong for 2 years. That was the duration of the serial killer case that took place 20 years ago. The investigation unit also found out that Sung Dong's photographer worked in film industry as a special effects makeup artist before he worked with Sung Dong. After he resigned from his work with Sung Dong, he moved to China. But he had moved back to South Korea 2 months ago. He now lived in a villa that was only 20 minutes away from Hoa Ran's villa. After Sun Mai and Dong Bak heard that, they headed to Sung Dong's photographer's villa right away. When they arrived there, they suddenly heard a man walking toward them. That man was named Jin Jia-ju. Jia-ju said that he recognized Dong Bak and he knew that they would visit that place. Then he invited them to that villa. Dong Bak asked him how he knew that they would come to that place. Jia-ju said that he had a dream where he met with him. Sun Mai told him that they were investigating a murder case and all evidence that they had gathered showed them that Jia-ju could be the murderer. Sun Mai also found it strange that the serial killer case began again right after Jia-ju returned to South Korea. She asked Jia-ju to allow Dong Bak to read his memory to see if Jia-ju was the murderer or not, but Jia-ju refused to do that. Sun Mai then showed him the warrant to search his residence. Not long after that, the investigation unit arrived in that place. Jia-ju welcomed them and allowed them to search his villa. Dong Bak went to Jia-ju's working room and saw Jia-ju's book and film collection there. Meanwhile, other police officers were checking the kitchen, bedrooms, walls, ceilings, garden plants, and water pipes, but they didn't find anything. The warrant would be expired by the time the sun set. Dong Bak found it strange that there was a chimney in that house, even though there was no fireplace in the first floor. The fireplace was supposed to be in the first floor because it would easily trap the heat in that house and transport it to the chimney. Dong Bak then went to the second floor and found the fireplace there. It appeared that the fireplace had never been used before. When Dong Bak checked that fireplace, he found a stair there. He climbed up that stair and found a secret room for private worship. There were many bones in that room. In the dining room, Jia-ju told Sun Mai that 3 people would die soon. Suddenly, K-Da came to that room and informed Sun Mai about the secret room that Dong Bak found in that house. Dong Bak thought that the victims were murdered as part of ritual to offer sacrifices to God. After Sun Mai saw that room, she ordered her team to arrest Jia-ju right away. Jia-ju was then arrested and taken to the police station. In his villa, the forensics team arrived and investigated all evidence that they found in that place. At the police station, Dong Bak entered the interrogation room and handcuffed himself. The head of the regional investigation team, Young Soo, was the one who ordered him to do that because he was afraid if he attacked Jia-ju. Then Dong Bak began to interrogate Jia-ju. Dong Bak asked him if the murders that took place 20 years ago were also committed to offer sacrifices to God. Jia-ju smiled when he heard his question. He asked him if he was talking about the executioner. Dong Bak asked him if he had supernatural ability to read a person's memory like him or if he was a shaman. Jia-ju answered that he could communicate with God if he prayed and meditated for a long time. He then asked if Dong Bak wanted to know about the woman who was hit by using a claw hammer to death 20 years ago. He said that the dying woman whom Dong Bak saw in his memory was Dong Bak's mother. Dong Bak asked if Jia-ju was the one who killed his mother. Jia-ju claimed that he heard a whisper and his mother died because of him. Dong Bak was furious when he heard that. Jia-ju couldn't stop talking and said that the murders would continue to take place. He warned them that 3 more people would die by the end of the month. Those people would die in horrible ways because of him. Suddenly, an employee approached Young Soo and informed him that the bones that were found in the secret room in Jae-gyu's villa were animal bones, not human bones. They had investigated those bones and didn't find any human genome there. After that, Young Soo and Dong Baek had a conversation in Young Soo's room. Dong Baek told Young Soo that they needed to watch Jae-gyu carefully because he threatened to kill 3 people by the end of the month. There were still 10 days left in this month. Sun-mei noticed that Jae-gyu sounded so convincing when he said that. She suspected that Jae-gyu was under the influence of something. The police finally decided to release Jae-gyu because they didn't have enough evidence to arrest him. Before leaving the police station, Jae-gyu said that Dong Baek and Sun-mei were surrounded by vengeful spirits. He also told them that a person would get murdered that night. He hoped that Dong Baek and Sun-mei could stop the killer. Dong Baek insulted him by saying that he was much crazier than he expected him would be. While Jae-gyu was walking home, Shil Kyu and Woon Jang followed him secretly. Meanwhile, Dong Baek and some detectives were watching Jae-gyu from inside of a van. In the investigation unit office, Sun-mei told her team to always keep an eye on Jae-gyu. Those detectives worked together to watch Jae-gyu carefully so that they could take immediate action when Jae-gyu did something harmful. But until the night had come, they found nothing suspicious in Jae-gyu's house. Ki-da thought that Jae-gyu didn't kill anyone that night because many police officers were watching him. The next day, the investigation unit received information that the pimp Yeon Tak had been murdered. After Dong Baek and Sun-mei heard that, they came to the crime scene right away. They checked Yeon Tak's dead body and found a video in that place. They took that video to the investigation unit office and watched it together there. In that video, they saw a man entering Yeon Tak's place and violently beating him until he died. Dong Baek asked the investigation unit to replay that video. Sun-mei noticed that there was something strange about the killer's face. She asked the team to brighten the screen and found out that the killer was wearing a mask. Suddenly, a detective that was on standby in Jae-gyu's villa called Dong Baek and informed him that Jae-gyu began to move. On the screen, Dong Baek saw Jae-gyu watching a little boy. After he saw that, he left that place and went to Jae-gyu's location with Kyung-tan and Si-hoon. Dong Baek disguised himself in a police mascot costume. He looked for the little boy who was being watched by Jae-gyu earlier and finally found him. That little boy was called Hyun-soo. Dong Baek touched his head and read his memory. After that, Dong Baek called Sun-mei and informed her about what he saw in Hyun-soo's memory. He said that Hyun-soo's mother, Shim Sang-ah, was working as a gardener in Jae-gyu's greenhouse. Then, Dong Baek, Kyung-tan, and Si-hoon joined other detectives to watch Jae-gyu's house again. On the screen, they saw a car approaching Jae-gyu's house. A man got out of his car and walked toward that house. That man was the TVC director Sung Dong. Dong Baek and Sun-mei then went to Jae-gyu's house and met with Sung Dong and Jae-gyu. Sung Dong said that he had found out that Sun-mei was So-mei. He thought that it was very dramatic that a daughter of a murder victim decided to join the police to take revenge. But he said that she didn't have any right to take revenge on the death of her father because her father deserved to die. Dong Baek was mad when he heard that. He pulled Sung Dong's jacket and threatened him. Jae-gyu told him not to touch people anymore. He explained that there was a similarity between 3 murder victims. That similarity was that Dong Baek was in contact with all of them. Jae-gyu said that anyone who had been in contact with Dong Baek would die in a horrible way. 1 person had died that morning and 2 other people would die soon. After that, Dong Baek and Sun-mei went to Sang-ah's house. They talked to Sang-ah and her husband, Yoon Ta. Dong Baek told them that Sang-ah's boss, Jae-gyu, was a murder suspect, so he suggested them not to be around him. Yita remembered that not long after Jae-gyu moved, he bought a water pump from him. He explained that he ran a small export business. Before leaving, Dong Baek gave Sun-mei a list of people who had been touched by him. He asked her to find out about the person in that list whom Jae-gyu would kill next. He said that if Jae-gyu was a real shaman who had supernatural ability, then he would know about people who had been touched by him. Dong Baek also asked Kyung-tan and Si-hoon to find out about where Jae-gyu installed the water pump that he bought from Yita. Dong Baek was looking for that water pump himself. While he was searching the area near Jae-gyu's villa, he finally found it. He then called Sun-mei and told her that he knew about Jae-gyu's strategy. Later, Dong Baek received a call from Kyung-tan. Kyung-tan told him that the building belonged to Sung Dong's son. Sung Dong's son was studying abroad and living with her mother there. Kyung-tan assumed that Sung Dong bought that building for his son. Dong Baek asked him to meet Sung Dong and ask him why he bought that building. Sun-mei then asked Dong Baek about Jae-gyu's strategy. Dong Baek said that there wasn't any water pump installed in Jae-gyu's villa, so he was looking for the place where Jae-gyu installed it. Dong Baek then opened the building's door and found a car there. He and Sun-mei followed the water pump hose that led them to a tunnel. Sun-mei wondered how Dong Baek found out about that place. Dong Baek explained that when he was checking Jae-gyu's working room, he found out that Jae-gyu only watched 1 film there. That film was titled Operation Anthropoid, a film about an assassination of a top Nazi official during the Second World War. The assassinators managed to assassinate their target, but they were trapped underground. Even though they were surrounded by Nazis, they still believed that they could run away from that place because they thought that there was a secret passage in that place. But unfortunately, they failed to find the secret passage because their enemies began to fill that place with water. Dong Baek said that just like the film, that place was also filled with water. So someone must need a water pump there. That was how he found out that Jae-gyu installed his water pump in that place. Dong Bak and Sun Mai then entered a room and found that Jeju kept his utilities there. Sun Mai saw a stair in the corner of the room and climbed up that stair. Dong Bak noticed that there were many helms and a motorcycle handbook in that place. Sun Mai removed a thing that blocked the door of the stair. Turned out that thing was a plant pot, and that stair led to Jeju's greenhouse. Dong Bak told Sun Mai that it was already too late. Jeju had already gone to his next victim's location by using his motorcycle. As soon as Sun Mai heard that, she called the investigation unit and told them that Jeju had ran away through a secret passage. After that, she and Dong Bak were searching the streets to find Jeju. Suddenly, Dong Bak stopped the car and looked at the picture that was taken at the crime scene. He noticed that there was spilled ink in the carpet near Yan Tak's dead body. He realized that Jeju was going to murder the TVC director Sung Dong next. Dong Bak tried to call Kyung Tan and Si-hoon, who were supposed to be in Sung Dong's house, but they didn't answer his call. In his house, Sung Dong begged the killer not to kill him. But that killer didn't respect his wish. He took a pen in that place and killed Sung Dong with it. After that, the killer jumped out of the window. Kyung Tan and Si-hoon chased him and finally managed to catch him. But when they were handcuffing him, the killer suddenly stopped resisting. That killer grabbed their gun, and a gunshot was heard. Not long after that, Dong Bak and Sun Mai arrived in that place. They rushed to the house and found Kyung Tan freezing there. They also saw Sung Dong lying dead on the floor. Sun Mai went to another room and found Si-hoon there. Just like Kyung Tan, he was also freezing. Suddenly, Sun Mai received a call from the investigation unit. They informed her that they had sent a team to watch the secret passage that was used by Jeju to run away. Sun Mai ordered them to arrest Jeju once he was spotted in that secret passage. Dong Bak touched Kyung Tan to read his memory, but he found out that Kyung Tan's most important memories had gone. It appeared that Jeju had erased those memories. Dong Bak told Sun Mai that Jeju killed Sung Dong for the crime that he had committed, which was writing exclusive reports. In the car, Sun Mai called the investigation unit and told them that Jeju had ability to erase a person's memory. She asked them to make sure that nobody was in physical contact with him. Meanwhile, the SWAT team and some police officers were watching the secret passage that was used by Jeju to run away. Sun Mai watched them from her tablet. The investigation unit finally managed to find Jeju's location. They found out that 50 minutes ago, before the SWAT team and the police officers surrounded the secret passage, Jeju was only 5 kilometers away from his villa. The detectives who were on standby in the van suddenly reported that they spotted Jeju in his garden. Dong Bak thought that it was too long for Jeju to arrive in his villa. He said that Jeju erased Kyung Tan and Si-hoon's memories 40 minutes ago. He realized that Jeju returned home after killing Sung Dong while he and Sun Mai were leaving the secret passage and heading to Sung Dong's house. Dong Bak and Sun Mai then went to Jeju's house. When they arrived there, they saw Jeju and Hyun-soo playing together in the garden. Dong Bak approached Jeju and asked him how he ordered his network to kill his victim. He also asked if he was actually the subordinate who received order from the real killer. Jeju didn't answer him. Instead, he asked Sun Mai why she looked mad. He said that even though it seemed unfair, everybody knew that Sun Mai's father broke their trust and betrayed his friends and colleagues. Sun Mai's father was responsible for 2,000 employees who got wrongfully fired. He also gave false testimony that caused harm to the labor union. Thousands of workers lost the court case and got wrongfully fired from their work. On the contrary, Sun Mai's father received a lot of money and even got accepted as a worker in the subsidiary. Many families of those workers suffered and got depressed. Then, after the 17th victim took his own life, the killer decided to take revenge on Sun Mai's father by stabbing him for 17 times. Jeju said that Sun Mai's father betrayed his friends and colleagues so that he could get a lot of money to send his genius daughter to the best school in the country. Sun Mai asked him how he knew that her father was stabbed for 17 times because the police had never revealed about the number of his wounds. Jeju answered that he talked to her father's ghost. Sun Mai then said that Jeju was arrested for murdering Sung Dong. Suddenly, Jeju asked Dong Bak to read his memory. Before Dong Bak did that, he asked Jeju to sign the agreement letter that stated that he gave his consent for Dong Bak to read his memory. He did that so that if he found anything important in Jeju's memory, the court would accept it as evidence. Suddenly, Hyun-soo approached Dong Bak and grabbed his leg. He poured water on his shoe. Sang-ah arrived in that place and rushed her son. She admitted that she didn't know that Hyun-soo was taken to Jeju's house. Hyun-soo's school bus took Hyun-soo there because they didn't find anyone in Sang-ah's house. Before leaving that place, Sang-ah told Jeju that she couldn't work as a gardener in his house anymore. After Sang-ah and Hyun-soo left, Dong Bak began to read Jeju's memory. In Jeju's memory, Dong Bak saw Jeju praying and entering the secret room. But suddenly, the passage behind Dong Bak disappeared. He also saw a bleeding woman's legs in a room. Jeju told him that everyone who touched him would die. Dong Bak noticed that there was a man with a mask and red eyes standing behind Jeju. He was shocked when he saw that man. Jeju laughed and Dong Bak suddenly collapsed. Dong Bak finally woke up from his faint and found himself lying on a hospital bed. He also saw a woman there. That woman was the National Intelligence Service chief. She was named Sun Soo-yeon. She told Dong Bak that she had been watching him for a long time. She also said that it was the 3rd time for Dong Bak to lose his consciousness while he was reading a person's memory. She thought that Dong Bak's health condition would worsen if he kept reading a person's memory. Dong Bak said that it was none of her business. He was the one who would take care of himself. Soo-yeon told him that he was a national asset, so it was everyone's mandate to suggest him to take care of himself. Then she left that room when Kyung Tan and Si-hoon arrived in that place. Si-hoon told Dong-baek that he slept for 3 days. He also said that Jae-ju had been arrested and interrogated for 48 hours. But he was then released after his lawyer, Jong Yeon, rejected his arrest warrant. Jong Yeon argued that the police didn't have strong evidence to arrest his client. Kyung Tan thought that Jae-ju must be rich that he could hire Jong Yeon as his lawyer. The forensics team went to Ja-gyu's secret room and investigated that place when Jae-ju was arrested, but they didn't find any Sung-dong's DNA in that place. Meanwhile, Jae-ju was sleeping on the bus. There were some detectives on that bus. They were there to follow and watch Jae-ju. But when the bus arrived at the bus stop, Jae-ju suddenly got up from his chair and ran away from the bus. The detectives who followed him chased him immediately. A detective managed to find him and follow him again. Jae-ju then entered a building and the elevator there. The detective found out that Jae-ju went to the 8th floor, so she rushed to that floor by using the stair. But when she arrived there, she didn't find Jae-ju in that place. She called the investigation unit and told them that she lost their target. But when she entered the elevator, she found Jae-ju there. When the elevator stopped at the basement, Jae-ju came out of the elevator and the detective followed him. But suddenly, Jae-ju turned around and attacked that detective. Not long after that, the special crime squad arrived in that place. They rushed to the building and looked for Jae-ju. When they checked the basement, they finally found the detective who followed Jae-ju earlier. That detective admitted that she didn't remember anything that happened to her in that place. She also said that she lost her gun. At the market, Sang-ah and Hye-in-soo went shopping together. Jae-ju was also there. He was watching them from afar. Suddenly, Sang-ah realized that Hye-in-soo was missing. Sang-ah went to Jae-gyu's house and asked Jae-ju if he saw her son. Jae-ju told her that Hye-in-soo would be punished for what his mother had done. He also said that he was the one who raised her. Sang-ah was shocked when she heard that. Suddenly, Dong-baek and his team arrived in that place. Dong-baek rushed to Sang-ah and saved her from Jae-gyu. When he touched her, he accidentally saw her memory. Then he asked Jae-ju about where Hye-in-soo was. Jae-ju answered that Dong-baek's dirty hands had touched that little boy. For that reason, Hye-in-soo met the requirement to be the third victim. Jae-ju said that the third victim would be murdered that night. In her house, Sang-ah revealed to Dong-baek and his team that Jae-ju was her stepfather. She said that Jae-ju was a bad person and she lived with him until she was 9 years old. When her grandmother was still alive, she always told Sang-ah that Sang-ah's mother didn't commit suicide, but she was murdered by Jae-gyu. When Sang-ah was still a child, her mother always went to the city to work. While her mother was working, Sang-ah only stayed with her stepfather, Jae-ju, at home. One day, Sang-ah saw Jae-ju walking into the woods. Sang-ah followed him and saw him practicing some sort of ritual where he offered a dead animal as the sacrifice. While she was watching him secretly, she suddenly tripped and fell. Jae-ju was surprised when he saw her there. In the night, before running away, Sang-ah's mother took the necklace that Sang-ah was wearing. One night, Jae-ju came to Sang-ah's room and returned Sang-ah's necklace that had been taken by her mother. Sang-ah realized that her stepfather had met with her mother since he found that necklace. Not long after that, the police visited her house and told her that her mother had passed away. Sang-ah saw her stepfather smiling. She was afraid when she saw that, so she went to her grandmother's house. Sang-ah's mother was found dead hanging from a tree beside a man. Sang-ah knew that her mother had been murdered and not committed suicide. Back to the present time, Kyung Tan asked why Sang-ah didn't recognize that Jae-ju was her stepfather earlier. Sang-ah said that she was only 9 years old back then, so she didn't really remember what her stepfather looked like. Dong-baek then called the investigation unit and asked them to issue an arrest warrant. While he was calling them, Shin Wong was in the investigation unit office. Shin Wong said that they couldn't arrest Jae-ju anymore if they didn't have strong evidence. It was because they had arrested him twice, yet they couldn't prove that he was guilty. Shin Wong ordered them to find Hye-in-soo instead. He said that Jae-ju only used that little boy as a distraction. The executioner only killed those who he believed deserved to die. Dong-baek was mad because Shin Wong refused to issue a warrant. He then left the van and received a call from Sun Mei. Sun Mai told Dong-baek that she had conducted investigation. She asked him what he saw in Jae-gyu's memory. Dong-baek answered that he only saw a secret passage there. The rest was only an illusion that was created by Jae-ju to mess with him. He said that Jae-ju could control what he saw in his memory. Sun Mei concluded that Jae-ju's ability was more superior than Dong-baek's ability. Not only could Jae-ju erase a person's memory, but he could also control a person's memory. Meanwhile, the SWAT team and some police officers were watching and surrounding Jae-gyu's secret passage again. The police had also installed a tracking device in Jae-gyu's car and motorcycle. In the car, Chil Kyu and Moon Jang were watching Jae-gyu's villa, but suddenly Jae-ju came to that place and attacked them. After that, he left that place with their car. In the car, Sun Mei asked Dong-baek why Jae-ju left a clue for them to find his water pump. Dong-baek said that Jae-ju revealed that secret passage to them so that he could save his network. He asked him if she had found out about Jae-gyu's network. Sun Mai said that she had investigated the first owner of that building and found out that the first owner was a foreign company in China. That foreign company director came to South Korea 4 years ago. He was Sang-ah's husband, Yoon Mi-ta. When he came to South Korea, he married Sang-ah, a single mother. So Hye-in-soo is not his biological son. Sun Mai thought that Ye-ta might be close with Jae-ju and might be the person who received his order. In her house, Sang heard her phone ringing. Her husband, Ye-tae, was the one who called her. Ye-ta told her to get out of the house through the back door right now. Suddenly, a noise was heard outside the room. Turned out that house was made by Jae-gyu. In front of Jae-gyu's villa, Sung-han called the investigation unit and reported that Jae-gyu had ran away from that place by climbing up the wall. He said that Jae-gyu only used the secret tunnel to trick them. At the same time, Young-soo received information that Sang-ah had been kidnapped. Woon-jang suddenly remembered that his phone was left in the car that was used by Jae-gyu. After Sung-han heard that, he asked the investigation unit to trace Woon-jang's phone. They finally managed to find Jae-gyu's location. Young-soo realized that Jae-gyu planned to flee from the country. He then ordered the team to block all roads to the airports and the harbors. Dong-bak and Sun-mei arrived in a building. Sun-mei told Dong-bak that Yi-ta had many properties there that he owned under a fake name. That building was also the place where Hyun-soo was reported missing. So Sun-mei thought that they might find Hyun-soo in that place. Dong-bak and Sun-mei then opened the door and entered that building. They found a car, a motorcycle, a sketch of a man holding a knife, and a number of murder weapons there. Suddenly, they heard sound of a car in that place. Dong-bak chased that car right away. He climbed up the car, but he fell not long after that. Meanwhile, the police were still chasing the car that was used by Jae-gyu. After a while, they finally managed to stop and surround that car. Dong-bak and Sun-mei used the motorcycle in the building to chase the car that ran away from that place. Back to the police, Sung-han instructed their team to open the car door. When they opened the car door, they only found Sang-ah and Hyun-soo inside. Sang-ah told the police that as soon as she found out that Jae-gyu had arrived in her house, she followed her husband's instruction to get out of the house through the back door. She went inside her car and found her son there. Ita suggested her flee from the country for the sake of her and her son's safety. Sang-ah thought that was a good idea, so she planned to go to the airport to meet her husband. Dong-bak and Sun-mei finally managed to stop the car. A man came out of the car and he turned out to be Jae-gyu. When Dong-bak was about to handcuff him, Jae-gyu suddenly attacked him and fired a gun, which hit Sun-mei in the arm. Dong-bak and Jae-gyu then got into a fight. Jae-gyu took out his knife and hurt Dong-bak with it. Sun-mei helped Dong-bak by shooting Jae-gyu. Dong-bak removed the knife from his hand and began to beat Jae-gyu up. After that, Dong-bak and Sun-mei handcuffed Jae-gyu. Sun-mei said that Jae-gyu had failed and the police had found Sang-ah and Hyun-soo before they had the chance to flee from the country. Jae-gyu seemed sad when he heard that. Dong-bak thought that there was something strange about that. He then touched Jae-gyu and read his memory. In Jae-gyu's memory, Dong-bak saw Jae-gyu asking Yi-ta to protect Sang-ah and Hyun-soo. He realized that Jae-gyu didn't have supernatural ability. Jae-gyu was only trying to protect his family from the real murderer, the person who had the ability to erase a person's memory. Right now, Yi-ta was being held captive in a basement by the murderer. At the hospital, Dong-bak read Jae-gyu's memory again. In Jae-gyu's memory, Dong-bak saw that 29 years ago, Jae-gyu was being hospitalized in a psychiatric hospital. One night, Jae-gyu woke up from his nightmare. A few years later, Sang-ah's mother told Sang-ah to go to bed. Before Sang-ah went to her room, she said goodnight to her stepfather, Jae-gyu, but Jae-gyu didn't respond to her. Sang-ah's mother was mad when she saw that. She asked her husband to be more nice to Sang-ah. Jae-gyu promised that he would change his attitude. Sang-ah's mother apologized to him for yelling at him. Jae-gyu said that it was alright, it was his own fault for being too weak. Sang-ah's mother promised that she would help him to recover. Jae-gyu thanked her and Sang-ah for helping him. Dong-bak then stopped reading Jae-gyu's memory. He told Kyung-tan and Si-hoon that it was not Jae-gyu who killed those 6 victims because Jae-gyu didn't have ability to erase a person's memory. He said that the real murderer, the eraser, had erased memories about him from Jae-gyu's memory. Dong-bak said that he would keep looking for a clue. He knew that the eraser didn't choose the man he was working with randomly, so he wondered why the eraser chose Jae-gyu. Dong-bak then decided to read Jae-gyu's memory again. In Jae-gyu's memory, Dong-bak saw Sang-ah's mother telling Jae-gyu that she was going to work. She also told him to eat and take his medicine. She said that she would return home late that night. Jae-gyu then got up from his bed. He saw his dog eating the breakfast that had been prepared by Sang-ah's mother for him on the table. Later, Jae-gyu went to a jewelry store and bought a ring and a necklace for Sang-ah. While he was in that store, he suddenly received a call from his lawyer. Jae-gyu ordered his lawyer to prepare his will and testament. He said that all his properties worth $30 million would be given to his wife after he died. When Jae-gyu returned home, he saw Sang-ah crying on the stair. He asked her why she cried, and Sang-ah said that her dog was sick. When Jae-gyu took the dog to the veterinary clinic, the veterinarian told him that his dog ate rat poison. Jae-gyu was surprised when he heard that. The next morning, Jae-gyu threw all meals that had been prepared by Sang-ah's mother for him. He took those meals to the chicken coop and gave those meals to the chickens. The next day, he repeated what he did another morning. He threw the breakfast that had been prepared by Sang-ah's mother for him and took it to the chicken coop. But when he arrived there, he was shocked to find out that the chickens that ate his breakfast another day died. In the midnight, while Sang-ah's mother was sleeping, Jae-gyu installed a listening device in her pager. The next morning, when Sang-ah's mother went to work, Jae-gyu followed her secretly. At her workplace, Jae-gyu saw his wife leaving early and getting into a man's car. They left that place and went to a hotel. In his car, through the listening device that he had installed in Sang-ah's mother's pager, Jae-gyu heard his wife asking why he hadn't died yet, even though she had put poison in his food. The man who was with her said that the police would suspect her if Jae-gyu died soon. Sang-ah's mother said that she wanted Jae-gyu to die soon so that she could get the money that he left for her. She planned to use that money to pay off her debt to the loan shark. She was worried if Jeju left all his properties and money to Sang-ah. She was sick of seeing her daughter every day. She asked that man to kill Sang-ah too. That man refused to do that because Sang-ah was their daughter. Jeju was shocked and sad when he heard that his wife planned to kill Sang-ah. After that, he went to the woods and took his dead dog there. His dog finally died after it ate the poisonous food. Then he began to practice a ritual to save Sang-ah. He offered his dead dog as the sacrifice. He tried to communicate with God and promised him that he would become a killer to save more important things from the world's sin. Turned out, Sang-ah was watching him secretly. She looked very scared when she saw what Jeju was doing. She had no idea that her stepfather was trying to save her. Back to the present time, Jeju finally woke up from his faint. He found himself lying on the hospital bed and saw Sun Mai in that room. Sun Mai told him that she would interrogate him. She asked him about who the eraser was. Jeju said that he didn't remember anything about him since the eraser had erased all memories about him from his memory. The eraser had erased everything about him, including his face and his voice, from Jeju's memory. Jeju had no idea how the eraser stole his consciousness or how he erased his memory. He only knew that all memories that he had right now were the memories that had been approved by the eraser for him to keep. Jeju then admitted that he was the executioner. He was the person who killed all victims in the executioner case in 1999. But he said that he didn't commit the murders that happened this year. He had no idea who had murdered Ji Dan or Sun Dong. Sun Mei asked him if he killed her father, the leader of the labor union, 20 years ago. Jeju said that he would tell her about the truth. But in return, Sun Mai needed to do a favor for him, which was sending Sang-ah and her family abroad. Jae-gyun said that if she wanted to fight the eraser, then she needed to be suspicious of her own memory. Jae-gyun then began to tell her about his story. 20 years ago, he woke up from his faint and found himself in an abandoned warehouse. He saw a man with a face covered and hands and legs tied to a chair there. He asked that man about who he was and where they were right now. He walked toward that man and helped to untie himself. That man fell from his chair and accidentally opened a door to another room. In that room, Jeju saw some people attacking each other. Those people looked scared because they lost their memories. All that they had was only fear. Jeju remembered that the eraser was standing near them. The next morning, when Jeju woke up from his sleep, he saw some pictures of him that were taken while he was sleeping. He realized that the eraser was the one who watched him sleeping and took those pictures. Since that time, he tried to kill the eraser. He installed a security camera in his house to monitor about what happened there. The next day, when Jeju woke up from his sleep, he saw a blood trail and an animal bone on his bed. Jeju went to his secret room and saw some numbers on the floor. Those numbers were the date when he served his sentence. There was also a writing on the wall that warned Jeju not to fight the eraser. Jeju tried to kill the eraser for several times, but he always failed to do that. The eraser always managed to defeat him because he could erase his memory. Jeju said that he was afraid if the eraser came to him and hurt Sang-ah and her family. Because of that, he finally decided to leave South Korea for 20 years. While he was living in China, the eraser never showed up in his life again. But 3 months ago, Jeju suddenly received a package that contained some pictures of Sang-ah and her family. Those pictures were taken secretly while they were sleeping. Jeju was scared when he saw those pictures. He knew that the eraser was the one who took them. In one of the pictures, there was a writing that told Jeju to come back. After receiving that package, Jeju finally decided to return to South Korea. He called Yi-ta and told him to run away with his family. But when Yi-ta and his family were about to go to the airport, Yi-ta decided to meet the eraser to kill him. In the car, Dong-baek told Si-hoon and Kyung-tan that Jeju's memory was first erased when the mass violence broke out 20 years ago. Si-hoon said that he couldn't find any document about that case, even though people died in that incident. In Jeju's memory, Dong-baek saw those people trying to kill each other. He also saw the eraser standing near them, but he didn't remember his face nor his voice. It was the first time for him to see the eraser. He knew that the eraser purposely showed up in that place to show his superior ability to him. Dong-baek, Kyung-tan, and Si-hoon finally arrived at the emergency services headquarters. They came to that place to find any document about the mass violence that took place 20 years ago. If that event was reported as an accident and not an attack, then they could find the document about it in that place and not in the police station. In the storage room, Dong-baek and his team saw the investigation unit there. They were sent by Sun Mei to look for the document of that mass violence. After a while, they finally found the document that they were looking for. In that document, that mass violence was reported as a carbon monoxide asphyxiation accident. All the victims died at the age of 20. There was only one person who survived that incident, and that person was named Sang-ah. Sang-ah was 17 years old when that incident took place. After that, Dong-baek, Kyung-tan, and Si-hoon went to Sang-ah's house. Sun Mei asked Sang-ah if she was present when the carbon monoxide asphyxiation accident took place 20 years ago. She said that the eraser showed up in that incident, but Sang-ah said that she didn't remember. Dong-baek then asked her to allow him to read her memory. After he read her memory, he told Sun Mei that Sang-ah didn't have any memory related to that incident. In Sang-ah's memory, Dong-baek only saw the eraser taking Sang-ah to the crime scene when she was unconscious. Dong-baek then asked Kyung-tan and Si-hoon to investigate the people who died in that mass violence. Suddenly, Sun Mei asked Dong-baek to talk to her in private. When they entered a room, Sun Mei saw the drawings that Hyeon-soo made. One of those drawings caught her eye. Sun Mei then showed the drawing to Hyeon-soo and asked him where he saw the thing that he drew there. Hyeon-soo said that it was in Jae-gyu's house. After Sun Mei heard that, she asked Sang-ah to allow Dong-baek to read Hyeon-soo's memory. In Hyen Su's memory, Dong Bak saw the eraser was standing in the tunnel below him. Hyen Su called the eraser underground monster. After that, Dong Bak and Sun Mai went to Jia Yu's house. Dong Bak said that the eraser needed to touch a person to erase their memory. In Jia Yu's house, Dong Bak and Sun Mai went to the basement and found 2 rooms there. Dong Bak checked one of the rooms, meanwhile Sun Mai went to another room after she heard a noise from that place. Suddenly, a gunshot was heard. Dong Bak was surprised when he heard that. He rushed to another room to check on Sun Mai. He saw Sun Mai trying to shoot a man with a mask there, but he stopped her right away. After that, he removed that man's mask and found out that that man was Yi Ta. Dong Bak tried to read his memory, but all his memories had been erased. Yi Ta didn't even remember his name and was unable to speak. Yi Ta was then taken to the hospital. He kept screaming and resisting, but he finally stopped doing that when Sang-ah arrived. Dr. So-yoon informed Dong Bak and Sun Mai that Yi Ta's brain was not damaged, so Yi Ta would be able to recover soon. Dong Bak said that someone had erased all his memories. After that, Dong Bak told Sun Mai that the eraser left a message in Yi Ta's subconsciousness. The eraser said that all of this was not over yet. There would be the 3rd victim, and that victim was the person who had been touched by Dong Bak. The 3rd murder would take place before the moon disappeared. Sun Mai realized that there were only 3 days left for them to stop the 3rd murder. But Dong Bak said that he wouldn't keep playing the eraser's game. This time, he wanted to prepare a trap for him. The next day, Dong Bak visited Jae-ju at the hospital. Dong Bak asked Jae-ju to work together with him to catch the eraser. He said that he needed his help. Jae-ju refused his offer immediately. But after Dong Bak told him that Yi Ta was still alive and all his memories had been erased, Jae-ju finally agreed to work together with him to destroy the eraser. The next scene revealed the time when Yi Ta and Jae-ju met for the first time. In 2002 in China, Yi Ta went to a market and bought poison that could kill 10 elephants. While he was cooking, he put that poison into the food. After he finished cooking, he gave that food to the gang boss there. But that gang boss refused his food and told him to give the food to Jae-ju instead. That time, Jae-ju was being held captive by that gang in that place. Naita then went to Jae-ju's room and gave the food that he had cooked to Jae-ju. But he told him not to eat that food. He also helped Jae-ju to untie himself. Meanwhile, in the dining room, the gang boss and her subordinates suffered from food poisoning. Yi Ta approached the gang boss and said that he did this to take revenge for the death of his brother. But suddenly, that gang boss laughed. Turned out she and her subordinates were only pretending to suffer from food poisoning. Apparently, what Jae-ju bought at the market earlier was not poison, but sugar. That gang managed to trap him. After they found out about his betrayal, they planned to kill him. But suddenly, Jae-ju came out of his room and attacked them. During their fight, the gang boss shot Jae-ju. But Yi Ta finally managed to kill her and save Jae-ju. Since then, Yi Ta and Jae-ju became friends. Back to the present time, Jae-ju visited Yi Ta in his room. He was leaving that room when Sang-ah arrived. But suddenly, Sang-ah asked if what Dong Bak said about Jae-ju killing her mother to save her was true. But Jae-ju didn't admit it. Instead, he said that Sang-ah's mother was a good person. So he wanted to kill Sang-ah more than he wanted to kill Sang-ah's mother. Si-hoon was confused when he heard that. He asked Kyung-tan when Jae-ju said that. Kyung-tan said that Jae-ju didn't want Sang-ah to find out about what kind of person her mother was. As a father, Jae-ju was only trying to protect Sang-ah. The next day, Jae-ju was taken to the court. He was heavily guarded by the police officers. In the court, Jae-ju's lawyer, Jang Yin, claimed that Jae-ju had nothing to do with the murders that took place that year or the murders that took place 20 years ago. He said that his client was not the executioner. But the judge showed him the letter of confession that Jae-ju had signed. In that letter, Jae-ju confessed that he had committed the murders that took place 20 years ago. Jang Yin said that Jae-ju signed that letter without his knowledge. He claimed that his client was not mentally and emotionally stable right now. He also stated that Jae-ju had been hospitalized in a psychiatric hospital for 15 years. Suddenly, Jae-ju got up from his chair. He said that he was not insane. He told Jang Yin that if he had a chance to kill someone right now, that he would kill him right away. After saying that, he bit Jang Yin's ear and hurt himself with a knife. After that, Jae-ju was taken to the hospital. The doctors performed an emergency surgery on him. Not long after that, Sun Mai and Dong Bak arrived in that place. Sun Mai said that she would transfer Jae-ju to a VIP room upstairs. But since that floor was empty because it was undergoing renovation and the 3rd murder would take place that day, Sun Mai asked the team to block the floor upstairs and restrict the number of visitors. Only the main medical team that was allowed to visit that floor. Meanwhile, Sun Mai was watching that floor from another building. She called the detectives in the security room and asked them to be on standby. But suddenly, there was a power failure. All security cameras and computers in that place stopped working, including the radio. Sun Mai called Sung Han and asked the detectives in the security room to check on Jae-ju in his VIP room upstairs. But since the elevator stopped due to the power failure, Sung Han and his co-workers headed to Jae-ju's room by using the stairs. But when they arrived at the stairs, they found Chil Kyu and other detectives lying unconscious there. Sun Mai then called Kyung-tan and asked him to transfer Jae-ju to another room. Sung Han reported that he and other detectives were trapped in a room. Upstairs, the elevator door was opened. Someone came out of the elevator and walked toward Jae-ju's room. Si-hoon asked Jae-ju to wake up. The SWAT team was in their ready position in that room. Dong Bak called Sun Mai and asked her about her situation. He asked her to see the face of the eraser together. Turned out, Jae-ju was in another room. He thought that Sun Mei and Dong Baek were very smart for tricking the investigation unit and using their target as the bait. He wondered if this would be the end for the eraser. The door of Jeju's room was finally opened. Turned out, Sanga was the one who came to that place. Dong Baek approached her and read her memory. Sanga said that he came to that place because Jeju was dying. Jeju asked her to meet him for the last time. Dong Baek said that what Sanga said was true. The SWAT team suddenly turned off all computers in that place. Dong Baek realized that Sun Mei was in danger. He rushed to another building to save her. Jeju said that it was not easy for them to destroy the eraser. Sun Mei told him that her phone suddenly stopped working. A detective said that he would check the telephone cable. Jeju apologized to Sun Mei for what he did to her father and for the suffering that he had caused her. Suddenly, a member of the SWAT team behind Jeju aimed his firearm at Sun Mei. Jeju saw that and attacked him right away. He told Sun Mei to shoot him. Turned out that man was the eraser. The eraser threw his smoke grenade into that room. Meanwhile, Dong Baek was heading to Sun Mei's room by using the stairs because the elevator stopped working. The eraser aimed his firearm at Sun Mei. Jeju attacked him again and told Sun Mei to shoot him. He said that it didn't matter if he also died. The eraser then shot Jeju and ran away from that room. At the same time, the SWAT team finally arrived in that building. While the eraser was trying to run away from that building, Dong Baek found him and shot him. Dong Baek told him to take off his mask. The eraser said that he was amazed by him and admitted that Dong Baek had won, but he wondered why Dong Baek couldn't do anything back then when his mother died in front of him. He asked him if he remembered when his mother died. He continued to mock Dong Baek by saying that he still remembered vividly when Dong Baek cried like a baby in front of his dying mother. After saying that, he jumped off the building and Dong Baek shot him right away. The eraser fell, but he managed to get up and run away. Dong Baek chased him and saw him entering the tunnel. Before Jeju breathed his last, he asked Sun Mei to remember his last words. He asked her to find a woman named Cho Won. Not long after that, Young Soo arrived in that place. He found out that Jeju had passed away. The SWAT team informed him that they lost their target and Dong Baek. Sun Mei said that she would take responsibility for everything that happened that night. The next day, Yi Ta and Sang watched the news about the death of the executioner, Jeju, on television. The news anchor said that Jeju died because the police failed to protect him as the main suspect in the executioner cases. They also mentioned about the eraser, the person who had killed Jeju. They said that the eraser had supernatural ability to erase a person's memory. Because of that news, a prosecutor named Woo Seok-yu from the prosecutor's office in northern Seoul went to Special Investigation Headquarters and searched that place. Sun Mei checked the warrant that they brought. Seok-yu told her that they searched that place because Jeju died when he was under arrest. Suddenly, Shin Won arrived in that place. He asked Seok-yu to stop searching that place and leave. He threatened that he would leak his video to the media if Seok-yu continued to do that. In that video, Seok-yu kicked Dong Baek in the face and tried to stop him from investigating Yirim's case. Shin Won said that Yirim could have been saved if Seok-yu didn't stop Dong Baek from investigating her case that time. If the media and the society found out about this, Seok-yu would definitely lose his job. After Seok-yu heard that, he finally decided to ask his team to leave that place. After that, Shin Won had a conversation with Sun Mei and Young Soo. Shin Won asked Sun Mei to quit her job. Sun Mei asked him to allow her to solve the case first. Shin Won explained that the reason why soldiers died during the war was because they had a stupid commander like her. Sun Mei could still become a warrior after she stopped working as a police officer but not with other detectives. So as the leader, it was important for Sun Mei to make sure that other detectives didn't lose their jobs so that they could still feed their families. After Sun Mei heard that, she finally decided to quit her job. In another place, the eraser was treating his wound. After that, he put on his mask and his jacket. When Sun Mei returned home, she saw Dong Baek sitting on the couch. Dong Baek told her that he didn't have a place to return to. He said that Seok-yu added him to the most wanted list. So Seok-yu and his team must be in his house right now. Then Dong Baek and Sun Mei discussed about the eraser. Dong Baek realized that the eraser only killed a famous criminal like Jeju, who was known as the executioner. But the 7 people whom the eraser killed in the mass violence 20 years ago were not famous. So Dong Baek needed to find out why the eraser killed them. He believed that they could reveal the eraser's true identity once they found out about the reason. Sun Mei told him that she was fired from Special Investigation Headquarters. She also said that in Jeju's last moment, Jeju told her that the eraser was hiding in Dong Baek's past. Dong Baek said that he didn't have any memory about his past. So they needed to focus to find information about the mass violence that took place 20 years ago. Suddenly, Sun Mei heard the doorbell ringing. When she opened the door, she saw Kyung Tan and Si-hoon there. Si-hoon told them that he had investigated the victims who died in the mass violence. He found out that the victims came from different towns and studied at different universities. But those victims had one similarity. They joined the same private tutoring since they were in kindergarten. Those victims came from wealthy and powerful families. But strangely, none of those families reported about their deaths. Si-hoon assumed that someone was trying to cover up that case and had gotten rid of the investigation file. He said that the detective who took charge of that case was Chung Ki-soo, the detective whom Sun Mei asked to investigate the death of her father. Kyung Tan said that he knew Ki-soo. He said that he had contacted him and Ki-soo promised to meet with him the next morning. The next morning, Kyung Tan told Dong Baek that Ki-soo had an accident. At the hospital, Ki-soo admitted that he didn't remember anything. No matter how hard he tried to remember the eraser, he couldn't remember anything about him. All he remembered that in the evening he was picking up his son who had just completed his military service. But when they stopped at the traffic light, the eraser suddenly came to that place and touched his arm. When Kisu woke up from his faint, he found himself having a car accident. The eraser helped him to get out of the car that began to catch fire. Kisu begged him to save his son too, but the eraser refused to do that. Kisu's son finally died in the car explosion. Kaisu was sad and angry when he told that story. He asked Dongbak to read his memory so that they could catch the eraser soon. Dongbak said that it was true that the eraser was the one who came to him. He asked him to give him the thing that he kept inside his pocket. Turned out that thing was the eraser's jacket button. Kisu remembered that he removed it from the eraser's jacket and swallowed it. Sunmai took a picture of the eraser's jacket button. She said that she knew the logo on that button. That logo consisted of a picture of a torch that was placed in the middle of flower petals. It was the logo of the fire department. Sunmai then called Bongguk, a detective from Special Investigation Headquarters, and secretly asked him to investigate that logo. The next day, Sunmai and Dongbak went to a fire department headquarters. The head of the fire department, Yusu Nam, greeted them warmly. Dongbak showed him the eraser's jacket button that had a logo of their fire department on it. Sunmai told Su Nam that they were investigating a murder case. Su Nam then took out his ceremonial dress uniform from a cupboard. They found out that it had the same button with the eraser's jacket button. Sunmai asked Su Nam to give her the list of people who had received that ceremonial dress uniform. In the car, Siakdu received information that Dongbak was seen in the fire department headquarters. At the same time, Shin Wong received a call from a police officer named Du Su. Du Su informed him that Dongbak was in the fire department headquarters and Siakdu was heading to that place to catch Dongbak. Shin Wong asked him to keep an eye on Dongbak. In the fire department headquarters, Dongbak asked how long Su Nam had been working in the fire department. Su Nam said that he had been working for 30 years. Dongbak then asked him about the incident that took place in the abandoned warehouse 20 years ago that killed 7 college students. Stihum asked why nobody reported that incident to the police. Su Nam believed that it was because the victims' families prevented anyone from reporting that incident to the police. It was rumored that those college students were drug addicts because of how they lost their minds and attacked each other to death in that incident. Suddenly, an employee came to that room. She gave the list of people who had received the ceremonial dress uniform to Sunmai. Su Nam remembered that he heard that a police officer came to the abandoned warehouse before the firefighters arrived. But that police officer didn't do anything to help the victims and ran away when the firefighters arrived. Dongbak asked him about the firefighter who saw that police officer. Su Nam answered that it was no Kwon Yu. An employee told them that Kwon Yu's ceremonial dress uniform was missing. She remembered that Kwon Yu said that he lost his uniform in a laundry. Dongbak asked her about where Kwon Yu was right now. That employee said that Kwon Yu was extinguishing fires with his team at building. Sunmai realized that the jacket or the uniform that the eraser was wearing was only a bait. The next victim would be Kwon Yu. After that, Sunmai, Dongbak, Kyungtan, and Sihum left that room. Sunmai said that Kisu was the one who took charge of the investigation of the mass violence case, where the eraser killed 7 college students. She believed that the eraser stole Kwon Yu's ceremonial dress uniform and wore it when he killed Kisu's son. Suddenly, Siakdu and his team arrived in that place. Sunmai, Kyungtan, and Sihum stopped them immediately and told Dongbak to run away and go see Kwon Yu. While extinguishing fires in the building, Kwon Yu suddenly heard someone asking for help. He came to the source of the sound and found out that it was a trap. Suddenly, the eraser came to that room and cut the hose of Kwon Yu's oxygen tank. Kwon Yu suffocated and lost his consciousness because of that. Before the eraser left that place, he put something into Kwon Yu's nose. Not long after that, Dongbak arrived in that place. He managed to help Kwon Yu to get out of the building. When Sunmai and her team arrived, Dongbak told them that the eraser was around. Sihun and Kyungtan then searched that area to find the eraser. Dongbak and Sunmai got inside the ambulance and took Kwon Yu to the hospital. Even though Dongbak was not in a good condition, he touched Kwon Yu to read his memory. Sunmai tried to stop him, but Dongbak insisted on reading Kwon Yu's memory. In Kwon Yu's memory, in April 2020 years ago, Dongbak saw Kwon Yu opening the door of the abandoned warehouse and finding a police officer in that place. That police officer got injured in the right hand. Kwon Yu also found Sang Ah lying unconscious on the floor. After he gave Sang Ah oxygen, he looked for that police officer, but he was already gone. He also found the 7 college students lying dead on the floor. Dongbak told Sunmai that the eraser had a large scar in the right hand. But since the eraser always wore a mask, Dongbak couldn't see his face. After saying that, Dongbak fainted and fell. At home, Shin Wong was drinking a glass of alcohol while looking out of the window. The next day, he practiced fencing with his partner. After that, he went to the office and called Young Soo to his room. He ordered him to catch the eraser in 3 days. He threatened that he would fire him if he failed to do that. At the hospital, Sunmai asked Dr. So Yoon why Dongbak had regained consciousness. She also asked her not to tell anyone that Dongbak was being hospitalized there because the prosecutors were after him. Dr. So Yoon asked her if she was worried about Dongbak. She said that she had known Dongbak for 7 years. At first, she thought that Dongbak was a liar. But after Dongbak proved that he did have supernatural ability, she finally believed him and liked him for saving many people's lives. Dr. So Yoon said that she saw a halo above Dongbak's head. She had also thought of him as her brother. She was really worried about him because his health condition continued to worsen and he fainted often recently. She said that Dong Baek needed to stop reading a person's memory because it worsened his health condition. She tried to stop Dong Baek from doing that, but Dong Baek refused to listen to her because he thought that he was destined to do this work. After Dong Baek woke up from his faint, he met Sun Mei and his team. A doctor told Kwon Yu's wife, Suk Hyun, that Kwon Yu began to recover. The doctor also gave Dong Baek the thing that he found inside Kwon Yu's nose. Dong Baek was the one who told him about that thing. Turned out, that thing was a message from the eraser. In that message, the eraser said that the innocent would be punished in place of the sinner. Dong Baek said that it was a reverse punishment where the innocent was punished to take revenge on the sinner. After that, Sun Mei and Dong Baek talked to Suk Hyun in a room. Sun Mei told Suk Hyun that the eraser was after her husband. She also asked her if she knew a police officer named Chung Ki-soo, whose son was murdered by the eraser 2 days ago. She said that the eraser murdered an ordinary young man and now targeted Kwon Yu, an ordinary firefighter. She then showed Suk Hyun the message from the eraser that was found inside Kwon Yu's nose. If Suk Hyun refused to tell them about the truth, then they couldn't help to protect Kwon Yu from the eraser. Dong Baek asked Suk Hyun if he could read her memory. Suk Hyun finally began to tell him a story. She said that 20 years ago, she went to a morgue to check a dead body that had just been taken there. She found out that that young man died after he fell off a cliff. His face was severely destroyed because of that. While Suk Hyun was checking his body, Kae-soo came to that room. He said that he wanted to know about what Suk Hyun had found out about that young man. Suk Hyun said that that man died because he fell off a cliff, but there was a second-degree burn in his arm. She found it strange that that man got that burn just a few hours ago, so she planned to perform an autopsy on him to find out about what happened to him. But when she signed a report, Kae-soo suddenly grabbed it and tore it up. Kae-soo asked Suk Hyun to fake the report of that man's death so that it would be unnecessary to perform an autopsy on him. He said that he would find a donor for Suk Hyun's son, who was being hospitalized due to a chronic illness that time, if Suk Hyun did what he asked. Suk Hyun was surprised that Kae-soo knew about her son. She believed that Kae-soo was working with a very powerful man. Because of that, she finally decided to do what Kae-soo asked him. She made a new report in which she stated that that man died because of internal bleeding. That man was named Moon Yong-da. Back to the present time, a nurse suddenly came to Suk Hyun's room and asked Suk Hyun to go to Kwon Yu's room soon. When Dong Baek, Sun Mei, and Suk Hyun arrived in Kwon Yu's room, they saw Shin Won there. Sun Mei asked Shin Won why he came to that place. She also noticed that Shin Won didn't wear his uniform and wasn't guarded by other police officers. Suddenly, the special crime squad arrived at the hospital. Shin Won ordered them to take Sun Mei out of that hospital building and not to allow her to enter any crime scene. In the elevator, Sun Mei ran into Dong Baek. In the investigation unit office, Bong Gut revealed about Yongdae's personal information to Sun Mei. He reported that Yongdae committed suicide on February 2, 2020 when he was only 20 years old. Yongdae's mother also committed suicide in the same year. The only member of Yongdae's family who was still alive was his father. Yongdae's father was called Chol-ju. Bong Guk said that Chol-ju still lived in the town. In the car, Sun Mei told Dong Baek that 2 months after Yongdae died, 7 people died in a mass violence in the abandoned warehouse. The eraser showed up for the first time in that incident. After that, Sun Mei and Dong Baek went to Yongdae's house. When they entered that house, they saw some pictures of Yongdae on the wall. Suddenly, the telephone in that room rang. Sun Mei answered the call and found out that the eraser was the one who called them. The eraser told Sun Mei that the next murder would be her own fault. He said that this murder was for the incident that happened to Cho-won. Sun Mei suddenly remembered about what Jae-ju told her before he died. That time, Jae-ju asked her to find a woman named Cho-won. 8 years ago, when Dong Baek was 19 years old, he was standing at the rooftop. He planned to take his own life. But suddenly, a high school student named Cho-won came to that place. She told Dong Baek to commit suicide in another place because that place belonged to her. When Dong Baek almost fell off the building, Cho-won grabbed his hand and saved him. While Cho-won was leaving that place, Dong Baek followed her. Cho-won asked him why he followed her. Dong Baek said that he knew that Cho-won was once tortured by a man, but she was saved right before she died and then adopted by a family. Dong Baek also knew that Cho-won was still traumatized by that torture and tried to take her own life for several times. Cho-won was surprised when she heard that. Dong Baek told her that he could read her memory. Then Dong Baek reached her hand and read her memory again. Later, Dong Baek was working part-time at a convenience store. Cho-won was the one who suggested him to work in that place. Since he worked there, many girls visited that place to see him. Cho-won was jealous when she saw that. After work, Dong Baek met with Cho-won at the park. Cho-won said that she suggested him to work at the convenience store because she wanted him to train his supernatural ability. By working at the convenience store, Dong Baek could easily touch people's hands, so it would be easy for him to read their memories. Dong Baek told her that he was able to control what he saw in a person's memory now. He thanked her for suggesting him to work at the convenience store so that he could train his ability. Cho-won then said that she needed to return home soon, but before leaving, she kissed Dong Baek. One night, Dong Baek tried to call Cho-won, but Cho-won's phone was deactivated. Dong Baek then decided to leave the work early. In the front of the convenience store, a woman named Hyun held out her hand, but Dong Baek ignored her. Dong Baek went to Cho-won's house and saw some missing person posters on the fence. Dong Baek was surprised when he found out that Cho-won had been missing. Back to the present time, Dong Baek couldn't believe that Jeju asked Sun Mai to find Cho Won. Suddenly, Sun Mai received a call from the investigation unit. They informed Sun Mai that Yang Dae's father, Chol Ju, had been reported missing for more than 10 years. The person who reported him missing was a man named Moon Yang Gang. Sun Mai guessed that Yang Gang was Chol Ju's son. Not long after that, Bong Guk sent Yang Gang's personal information to Sun Mai. Turned out Yang Gang was Yang Dae's brother. He was 37 years old now. He was also a former Special Forces soldier. He joined the SWAT team for 6 years and left the police last year. After he quitted his work, he became Bang Joon-suk's personal bodyguard. Bang Joon-seok was a famous politician. When Sun Mai and Dong Bak arrived in Joon-suk's neighborhood, they saw some police officers in that place. Suddenly, a woman knocked on their car window. That woman was named Kang Jae-yeon. She was a TVC journalist. She went inside their car and informed them about what happened. Turned out Jae-yeon had been working with Dong Bak and his team. She was the only TVC journalist who supported and believed in Dong Bak. Jae-yeon told Sun Mai to be careful because the prosecutor's office had been tapping her phone. She also said that Joon-suk's wife, Yeon Soo-kyung, had been kidnapped. Dong Bak and Sun Mai went out of their car after they heard that. In front of Joon-suk's house, they met Young Soo and his team. Young Soo asked them to check Joon-suk's house with him. When they arrived at the garden, they saw Ki-da there. Ki-da introduced Joon-suk's secretary, Soo to them. He said that Ki-soo was at home when Soo-kyung was kidnapped. He also showed them the CCTV footage of Soo-kyung being taken by her kidnapper. In that CCTV footage, it was shown that Soo-kyung was being kidnapped in the parking area after she visited her obstetrician. Some may ask Ki-soo if she remembered anything about Soo-kyung's kidnapper. Ki-soo said that she saw a scar in the kidnapper's right hand. Then Shil-kyu gave Sun Mai a document about Soo-kyung's parents. In that document, it was revealed that Soo-kyung's father was a judge of the Supreme Court who died last year, meanwhile Soo-kyung's mother was a school principal. They used to live and work in the town. Sun Mai said that the eraser wanted to take revenge on his enemies by murdering their families, just like what he did to Ki-soo and Kwon Yu's wife. The eraser punished Ki-soo and Soo-kyung because they had covered up a murder case. Suddenly, Joon-seok returned home. He asked Dong Bak to help him to find his wife. Dong Bak approached Yang Gang and asked him to show him his arm. He said that the kidnapper had a large scar in the right hand. Sun Mai also told Yang Gang to show them his left arm. When Yi-soo saw that scar, she said that it looked like it resulted from a knife. She remembered that the scar that she saw on the kidnapper's arm was not like that. Dong Bak asked Yang Gang if he could read his memory, and Yang Gang said that he couldn't do that. Sun Mai took out her phone and took a video of them. While Dong Bak was approaching Yang Gang suddenly took out his knife and held Yi-soo captive. After that, he went inside his car and ran away from that place. Dong Bak chased him immediately. From another direction, Jae-eun came to that place and blocked Yang Gang's car. Yang Gang got out of his car and ran as fast as he could. He used a motorcycle to run away from that place. Dong Bak chased him, but he failed to catch him. Sun Mai told Dong Bak to get inside the car now. They traced Yang Gang and followed him right away. After they took Soo-kyung to the hospital, they went to a car repair shop. While they were searching that place, they suddenly heard a phone ringing in that place. Sun Mai answered that call. Turned out Yang Gang was the one who made that call. Yang Gang told Sun Mai that he was not the murderer. He also said that he had been hunting the eraser all his life, and he almost caught him one time. He knew that the eraser had a large scar in the right hand. Sun Mai asked him about the eraser's true identity. Yang Gang asked her to press the red button in that place. Suddenly, some pages of a presentation showed up. Those pages contained pictures of Shin Won when he was practicing fencing with his partner. Sun Mai and Dong Bak were surprised when they saw those pictures. After that, they went to Shin Won's office. Dong Bak checked Shin Won's right hand and said that Shin Won was the police officer who was present in the abandoned warehouse where the mass violence took place 20 years ago. He said that Shin Won was the eraser. Dong Bak then touched Shin Won's neck and read his memory. In Shin Won's memory, Dong Bak saw Jae-ju removing the cloth that covered Shin Won's mouth. Jae-ju told Shin Won that he would die that night. He said that it was all that he knew because his memories had been erased. Just like Shin Won, that young man also targeted him. Dong Bak said that the young man who did this to them was a very bad man. He admitted that he was working with him because he needed to protect his daughter. He said that this memory would be erased too. Suddenly, a noise was heard outside of the room. Jae-ju said that the devil had arrived and quickly covered Shin Won's head and mouth again. After that, Jae-ju left that room. He asked that man what he had done to Sang-ah. Not long after that, Dong Bak saw Jae-ju lying on the floor. Jae-ju woke up from his faint and asked Shin Won about who he was and where they were right now. After that, he untied Shin Won. Shin Won fell from his chair and accidentally opened the door to another room. Jae-ju entered that room and saw 7 people attacking each other. After Shin Won removed all ropes from his body, he joined Jae-ju in that room and watched the mass violence that took place there. Suddenly, a man attacked him with a shovel. Before he lost his consciousness, he saw little Dong Bak in that place. When he woke up from his faint, he saw everybody lying dead on the floor except a girl named Sang-ah. He told Sang-ah to wake up, but Sang-ah didn't respond to him. He thought that Sang-ah had died, so he took her oxygen mask. Not long after that, a firefighter came to that place. That firefighter was Kwon Yu. Kwon Yu noticed that Shin Won's hand got injured. While he was busy helping Sang-ah, Shin Won left that place. When Shin Won arrived on the railroad, he saw little Dong Bak again. Dong Baek looked at him and left that place. Back to present time, Shin Wong said that Dong Baek was the eraser himself. Dong Baek was the person who murdered 7 people in the abandoned warehouse 20 years ago. Sun Mei asked him to prove what he said. Shin Wong then showed her the document about the victims of the eraser, including Gai Dan and Sung Dong. Those victims had one similarity, which was being touched by Dong Baek. Shin Wong said that everybody who had been touched by Dong Baek would die. Dong Baek said that Shin Wong was a liar. He said that Shin Wong was the person who ordered Ki-soo to cover up the murder case 20 years ago. He also asked him about the person who gave the order to cover up Yang Dae's murder case. When he was about to read his memory again, Shin Wong's bodyguards suddenly came to that place and aimed their guns at him. Shin Wong said that Dong Baek was a killer. Dong Baek ran away from that room and Shin Wong's bodyguards chased him immediately. Sun Mai told Shin Wong that she knew someone had covered up Yang Dae's murder case. She knew that Yang Dae actually got murdered and didn't commit suicide and his death certificate had been faked. She also knew that he was trying to get rid of Dong Baek by accusing him of being the eraser. The next day, Doo-soo reported to Shin Wong about the message from the eraser that was found inside Kwon Yu's nose. In that message, the eraser said that the innocent would be punished in place of the sinner. Doo-soo said that the eraser was targeting a family member of people who had committed crime. After Shin Wong heard that, he ordered Doo-soo to take his wife and son to their hiding place. After that, Shin Wong ordered Young-soo to arrest Dong Baek and find the evidence. When Young-soo left that room, Doo-soo entered that room. Outside of that room, Young-soo heard Shin Wong ordering Doo-soo to make the media hate Dong Baek and spread negative news about him. In another place, Dong Baek woke up from his faint. He saw a green blanket there. Then he got up and went downstairs. He went to Jia-yu's working room and saw Sun Mai waiting for him there. Dong Baek asked Sun Mei how she knew that he was in that place. Before Sun Mei answered him, she asked him if it was true that Jeju was a shaman. Dong Baek said that it was true. In 1971, when Jeju was 8 years old, he watched his mother practicing a ritual. Jeju's mother was a shaman. One day, Jeju was being bullied by a group of teenagers. A girl named Hwang Pil-seon told her friends to urinate on him. Suddenly, Jeju got possessed by a spirit. Pil-seon and her friends were scared when they saw that. Before they ran away from that place, the possessed Jeju told Pil-seon that she would die in the most horrible way. While leaving that place, Jeju tripped and fell. He saw a car driving past him. There were Pil-seon and her mother inside that car. When Jeju returned home, he found his mother dying on the floor. There was a bottle of pesticide near her. Jeju cried as his mother slowly died in front of him. After his mother died, he decided to become a shaman too. Back to the present time, Sun Mai told Dong Baek that before Jeju died, he told him about 4 things. First, Jeju would meet Dong Baek again in the murderer's house. Second, the eraser lived inside Dong Baek's memory. Third, Jeju asked her to find Cho-won. And fourth, Dong Baek went to the church on the night Jae-dan was murdered. Dong Baek said that it was true that he went to the church to kill Jae-dan that night. But he finally decided not to do that because he knew that Cho-won wouldn't have wanted him to kill anyone. Cho-won always wanted more people to know about his supernatural ability because she thought that it would encourage them to become good human beings. 7 years ago, after Dong Baek found out that Cho-won was missing, he was trying to find Cho-won by spreading her missing posters everywhere. While he was spreading those missing posters at the park, he ran into Hyun-ah. This time, he shook her hand when she held out her hand. He accidentally read her memory and saw Cho-won got injured there. He was furious when he saw that. He attacked Hyun-ah and rushed to the place where Cho-won was lying unconscious. Not long after that, the police arrived in that place. In the court, Dong Baek revealed to the public for the first time that he could read a person's memory just by touching them. That was how he could find Cho-won. The Department of Justice and the National Intelligence Service then decided to study and do research on Dong Baek to prove what he claimed. They finally believed that Dong Baek had supernatural ability to read a person's memory. Back to the present time, Dong Baek told Sun Mai that while Hyun-ah and her lover were driving their car back then, they accidentally crashed into Cho-won. They panicked when they saw that. But instead of taking Cho-won to the hospital, they hid her body in the tunnel. Cho-won was still alive that time. She cried for help, but Hyun-ah attacked her with a stone instead. Dong Baek ran into Hyun-ah in front of the convenience store one day after that car accident took place. Dong Baek blamed himself because he didn't shake her hand that time. He thought that he could have saved Cho-won if he touched her. He said that he revealed his ability to the public to find and punish Cho-won's murderers. After Sun Mei heard his story, she said that she believed in him. She said that she would work together with him until they find the eraser. Then Sun Mei and Dong Baek discussed about the mass violence that took place 20 years ago. Dong Baek said that he saw someone in the abandoned warehouse. That person was more than 170 centimeters tall. The eraser was also known as the Young Devil because he was still young. When the mass violence took place, Yang Gang was only 17 years old. 2 months before the mass violence took place, Yang Dae, Yang Gang's brother, died. Dong Baek assumed that Yang Gang killed 7 people in the abandoned warehouse to take revenge for the death of his brother. He believed that Yang Gang was the eraser. Sun Mai thought that it was also possible that Yang Gang was working for the eraser. She said that they needed to find the person who was being targeted by the eraser recently. Then she showed Dong Baek the video that she took when Yang Gang attacked Hee-soo. While watching that video, Dong Baek noticed that Hee-soo moved first. After that, Sun Mei and Dong Baek went to Jun Suk's house and talked to Hee-soo. Sun Mei showed Hee-soo the video that she took when Yang Gang attacked her. That video showed that Hisu walked toward the stair first so that Yang Gang could run away. Dong Baek asked Hisu where Yang Gang was hiding right now. After that, Dong Baek and Sun Mei headed to Yang Gang's location. When they arrived there, they saw Shin Wong in that place. Sun Mei said that Yang Gang didn't come to that place to hide, but to kill his next target. Sun Mei then called Shin Wong and told him that the Eraser was targeting his family. She said that the Eraser wanted to take revenge on him for ordering Keisu to cover up Yang Dae's murder case. Shin Wong said that he would protect his family by himself. However, Sun Mei and Dong Baek still entered that building and talked to Shin Wong. Sun Mei told Shin Wong that the Eraser would come to that place soon. Shin Wong ignored her warning and ordered his subordinates to arrest and handcuff Dong Baek instead. Suddenly, the lights in the hallway went out. All bodyguards who were placed in that place suddenly collapsed. Dusu came out of the room to check the situation, but he soon collapsed too. Yang Gang finally showed up and walked past them. When he entered the room, he didn't see anyone there. Suddenly, Dong Baek and Sun Mei came to that room and shot Yang Gang in the leg. Turned out, when they visited Hisu and Jun Seok's house, Hisu told them that Yang Gang had prepared anesthetic gas in Shin Wong's hiding place. Because of that, they managed to prepare themselves. Dong Baek then touched Yang Gang to read his memory. But before he had the chance to do that, Shin Wong came out of his hiding place and electrocuted Dong Baek and Sun Mei. When Shin Wong was about to kill Dong Baek, the firefighters came to that room. When Dong Baek woke up from his faint, he found himself in a car. He saw Kyung Tan and Si Hoon there. Kyung Tan managed to save Dong Baek and Sun Mei when they were about to be taken to the police station. Dusu informed Shin Wong that they lost Dong Baek and Yang Gang was taken to the hospital. Suddenly, Shin Wong realized that Dong Baek and Yang Gang were not on the same side because Dong Baek shot Yang Gang. In the car, Dong Baek realized that it was the Eraser's strategy. As soon as he realized that, he and his team rushed to Shin Wong's place. In Shin Wong's hiding place, a firefighter still stayed in the room where Yang Gang was shot earlier. Shin Wong's bodyguard told him to leave, but when he touched him, he suddenly fainted and fell. While Shin Wong was coming out of the elevator, Dong Baek called him and told him that Yang Gang was only a bait and the Eraser would kill his son. After Shin Wong heard that, he rushed to his room and found his bodyguards lying unconscious on the floor. When he went to his son's room, he screamed in horror as he saw his son lying on the bed with 20 nails being stabbed into his body. In the car, Dong Baek and his team found out that Shin Wong's son got injured. Shin Wong ordered his subordinates to find and arrest Dong Baek. Dong Baek told his team that there were actually 8 people who killed Yang Dae and not 7 people. The 8th person, who didn't die in the mass violence, turned out to be the famous politician Jun Seok. After that, Dong Baek and Sun Mei went to Jun Seok's place. While they were waiting for Jun Seok to arrive, Soo Kyeon's mother suddenly approached them. Soo Kyeon's mother begged Dong Baek to save her daughter. She said that Soo Kyeon was Dong Baek's fan and she really liked him, so she begged him to save her daughter and Cho-won. Cho-won was the name of Soo Kyeon's unborn baby. Sun Mei was surprised when she heard that. She remembered that Jeju asked her to find Cho-won. Then Dong Baek looked at the pictures on the wall. He said that Jun Seok was not the root of all these problems. The main target of the Eraser was actually the person who had destroyed his life. That person was his stepsister, Hwang Pil-seon. When Dong Baek read Jae-gyu's memory, he found out that the only happy memory that Jae-gyu had during 57 years of his life was when he was a child. One day, Jae-gyu and his mother were walking together. Jae-gyu asked his mother why she killed the goat. His mother said that the goat would be used as a sacrifice. When they arrived at home, they saw a man waiting for Jae-gyu's mother there. Jae-gyu's mother asked Jae-gyu to wait outside. She then went inside the house by herself. Not long after that, a man came out of the house. Before leaving, that man gave some money to Jae-gyu. In their house, Jae-gyu saw his mother putting on her clothes. In the night, before sleeping, Jae-gyu told his mother that he wanted to become a prosecutor or a judge. His mother was happy when she heard that. She then hugged her son until they slept. Since Jae-gyu's mother died, the spirit who was worshipped by Jae-gyu's mother followed Jae-gyu. One day, 2 men went to Jae-gyu's house. When they arrived there, they saw Jae-gyu praying in front of his mother's dead body. Jae-gyu prayed that his mother woke up again, but nothing happened. Since his mother died, he never felt happy again. The men who saw him pray in front of his mother's dead body thought that he was crazy and decided to send him to the psychiatric hospital. 15 years later, Jae-gyu managed to trick a psychiatrist there and run away from the psychiatric hospital. After he left the psychiatric hospital, he went to Pil-seon's house. When Pil-seon returned home, she was surprised to see the situation there. Her workers looked so scared and her house looked so messy. Suddenly, Jae-gyu showed up in that place. He had a firearm with him. He told Pil-seon that he was the son of the shaman whom she had killed and poisoned. He knew that Pil-seon bribed and ordered the psychiatric hospital director to keep him in that place for years. He said that he had lived in the psychiatric hospital since he was 8 years old. Then Jae-gyu kneeled in front of Pil-seon. He said that he wanted to forget about his past and start a new life. He asked her to let him go or end his suffering right now by killing him. He gave his firearm to Pil-seon and Pil-seon took it. Suddenly, a man came to that place. Jae-gyu called that man father. That man was surprised when he heard that. Pil-seon then shot Jae-gyu with his firearm. Apparently, the Eraser chose Jae-gyu to work with him because they had the same enemy, who was Hwang Pil-seon. Back to the present time, Dong Baek told Jun Seok and Pil-seon that the Eraser was after them. He said that all these problems were caused by a murder that took place 20 years ago and Pilsean who covered up that murder case. If Pilsean was lucky, she would only be sent to jail, but if she was not lucky, the eraser would kill her. Dong Bak said that he didn't care about Pilsean or Jun Seok. The only person whom he wanted to save was Soo Kyeon because she was innocent. Dong Bak said that if Pilsean and Jun Seok wanted to save Soo Kyeon and her unborn baby, they needed to tell the world about the truth regarding Yongdae's murder that took place 20 years ago. Pilsean coldly told him that the only thing that she protected and cared about was her family's reputation. After that, she left that room. Shin Wong went to Yonggang's room and asked Yonggang about the eraser's true identity. He threatened that he would kill him if he refused to tell him about the truth. Yonggang told him that the eraser died 20 years ago. Back then, when he saw Yongdae's dead body in a morgue, he found a suicide letter that was left by Yongda. In that letter, Yongdae said that he was tired of being alive because of his family's poverty. His family's poverty had made his mother commit suicide and his father depressed and leave the house. His father had never returned home since then. But Yonggang suspected that Yongdae's suicide letter was fake. If his brother was the one who wrote that letter, he would have left a message for him. Yonggang said that Jun Seok had killed his brother, but Shin Wong had killed his entire family. He said that the eraser didn't kill Shin Wong's son purposely because he only wanted to give him a warning. He admitted that he didn't know who the eraser was because his memory about him had been erased. Suddenly, Keisu came to that place. He forced Yonggang to tell him about the eraser's true identity, but he failed to get any information from him. In Jiagyu's house, Dong Baek and his team had a meeting. Dong Baek told his team that Pilsean was the eraser's last target. Pilsean was the one who faked Yongdae's death and killed his family. Meanwhile, Jun Seok was the leader of the group of teenagers who killed Yongda. He killed Yongda with his friends. After that murder took place, Pilsean sent Jun Seok to study abroad. Meanwhile, Shin Wong appointed Keisu as the vice head of the police department to help him to cover up that murder case. Jiaju didn't kill Pilsean right away because he knew that Pilsean would die in the most horrible way. He believed that Pilsean would meet her death in the most sadistic and painful way. But Sun Mai still had no idea why the eraser wanted to take revenge on Pilsean. If they knew about the reason why the eraser wanted to take revenge on Pilsean, it would be easy for them to find out about the eraser's true identity. Sun Mai also still had no idea why the eraser waited for 20 years to take revenge on Pilsean. After that, they watched the news about Soo Kyeon. The TVC news anchor said that the eraser sent Soo Kyeon's pictures to them. In the first picture, the eraser wrote that he would torture Soo Kyeon every day until Dong Bak died. But until that day, TVC hadn't heard anything from Dong Bak. After people watched that news, they thought that Dong Baek was working with the eraser. Some people even thought that Dong Baek was responsible for the murder cases himself. The authorities suspected that Dong Baek was the eraser himself or the eraser's right-hand man. People were confused when heard that because Dong Baek was known as a detective who always promoted justice. The news anchors thought that Dong Bak had lost his idealism when he became the object of the investigation. After Dong Baek watched that news, he said that the eraser was trying to attack him mentally. In Pilsean's house, Shin Wong showed Jun Seok some pictures of Soo Kyeon who had been tortured by the eraser. He said that the eraser used the same method to attack his son. He admitted that the eraser attacked him and his family because of the crime that he committed 20 years ago. He was the one who created the devil called the eraser and made him kill many innocent people. Pilsean said that she didn't care if Jun Seok's wife was still alive or not. She only cared about Jun Seok's reputation, and she would do anything to protect his reputation from this scandal. She also wanted the eraser to stay away from the court and wanted the police to get rid of Dong Bak. Shin Wong said that they had the same goal, which was getting rid of the eraser and Dong Bak. They needed to do this because it was the only way to protect their family. The next day, when Shin Wong visited his son at the hospital, the doctor told him that his son began to recover. After that, Shin Wong went to the parking space and met with Keisu there. Keisu asked him about the eraser's true identity and Shin Wong answered that he was Dong Baek, or at least Dong Baek was working with him. He thought so because when Yonggang attacked him with anesthetic gas another day, Dong Baek had prepared himself with an oxygen mask as if he already knew about what was going to happen. And just like the eraser, Dong Baek was also targeting Pilsean. Meanwhile, Sun Mi, Dong Baek, Kyung Tan, and Si-hoon were waiting in the car. They wanted to attend the press conference that was held by Jun Seok, but that event was heavily guarded by the police. Suddenly, Sun Mai saw a TVC van being parked there. She called Jai-yeon and asked her to help her enter the building. While Dong Baek was entering the building, Doo-soo saw him and chased him right away. Doo-soo called his team and told them that Dong Baek was entering the elevator. In that press conference, Jun Seok asked the person who kidnapped his wife not to hurt his innocent wife. He said that if he wanted to hurt someone, he should hurt him instead of his wife. The special crime squad had been waiting for Dong Baek in front of the elevator. But when the elevator door was opened, they didn't find Dong Baek there. There was only Si-hoon in the elevator. Back to the press conference, Jun Seok kneeled in front of the public and begged the kidnapper to release his wife. Suddenly, Dong Baek came to that place. He touched his shoulder and read his memory. He took out his gun and had sudden, severe headache. After he finished reading his memory, he got mad and attacked Jun Seok. In her room, Pilsean watched the press conference on television. She was surprised when she saw what happened there. After Dong Baek attacked Jun Seok, he ran away from that room. Jai-yeon and Kyung Tan helped him to run away from that place. Jai-yeon helped Dong Baek to walk, meanwhile Kyung Tan locked the door. Dong Baek then called Sun Mei, who was in another place with Young Soo. He told her that there was another victim on the day Yongda got murdered. That victim died after brutal rape. She was named Yu Ah-young. She died at the age of 20. Her father was the head of the fire department, Soo Nam. Soo Nam was the eraser. In another place, Soo Nam was watching Jun Suk's press conference on television. After Sun Mai received information from Dong Bak, she ordered the team to go to Soo Nam's house. While Dong Bak was walking toward his car, Kai-soo saw him and tried to hit him with his car. But suddenly, Kyung Tan came to that place and saved Dong Bak. But unfortunately, he was the one who got hit by Ki-soo. Not long after that, Si-hoon and the team arrived in that place. They helped Kyung Tan and took him to the hospital. Meanwhile, Jae-eun was taking Dong Bak to Jae-yu's house. Sun Mei and her team finally arrived in Soo Nam's house. But when they entered that place, they found out that Soo Nam had left that place. They also saw a writing on the wall that said the innocent would be punished in place of the sinner. In Jae-yu's house, Dong Bak finally woke up from his faint. He asked Jae-eun about Kyung Tan's condition. Jae-eun said that the doctors had performed surgery on him, but he hadn't woken up yet. Sik-do arrived at the parking space of Pil-seon's apartment building. When he got out of his car, National Intelligence Service Chief Soo-yeon suddenly approached him. Soo-yeon asked him not to catch Dong Bak because he was not a criminal. She threatened that she would reveal the crime that he had committed to the public if he didn't do what she asked. Not long after that, Shin Wong arrived in that place. Soo-yeon introduced herself as National Intelligence Service Chief to him. While Seok-do and Shin Wong were leaving that place, Soo-yeon warned them that what they planned wouldn't turn out well. After that, Seok-do and Shin Wong met with Pil-seon in her room. They were discussing about their plan to kill Dong Bak. In Jeju's working room, Dong Bak remembered about the time when he spent some time with Cho-won at the park. That afternoon, Cho-won admitted that she felt jealous of him because he could read a person's memory. Dong Bak said that reading a person's memory was a tough job because it made him realize that people were not as good as they seemed. Cho-won then asked him to read her memory. She was confident that her memory would make him happy because she kept thinking about him recently. Dong Bak smiled when he heard that. Cho-won said that his ability had made 2 people happy. She believed that his ability could make more people happy if they found out about it. She believed that Dong Bak could make the world a better place to live with his ability. Back to the present time, Dong Bak began to make his confession. In a room, Soo Kye-yeon begged Soo Nam not to kill her. Soo Nam began to tell her a story. He said that 20 years ago, he went abroad to save the victims of earthquake. But while he was there, he suddenly received information that his daughter had passed away. He returned to South Korea to see his daughter for the last time. He knew that his daughter died under strange circumstances. His daughter's death kept haunting him. Even when his wife died, he wasn't as sad as he was when his daughter died. The police said that his daughter took her own life, but he didn't believe them. One day, Soo Nam's daughter, Ah-young, was spending time alone in the woods. Suddenly, a man approached her. That man came to that place with Jun Seok. Ah-young noticed that they were drunk. When she tried to leave that place, more men began to show up and approach her. Those men then attacked and raped her. In the night, Ah-young's boyfriend, Yeon-dae, came to that place to look for Ah-young. Jun Seok and his friends beat him up and burned him alive. After Yeon-dae died, they threw his dead body into a ravine. Not long after that, Shin Wong and Ki-soo arrived in that place. After Shin Wong saw Ah-young in the van, he beat Jun Seok up right away. Shin Wong asked Jun Seok to get his life together if he didn't want to end up rotting in the jail. Back to the present time, Soo Nam told Soo Kye-yeon that her husband Jun Seok had murdered 2 people. On the day Yeon-dae died, his daughter was still alive, but her spirit had been destroyed. Her condition was worsened by her doctor and psychiatrist who pressured her to make a confession that she didn't fight back when she was being raped. One day, Ki-soo visited her at the hospital and told her that Yeon-dae had passed away. He said that Yeon-dae took his own life. Ah-young cried in despair when she heard that. Sun Mai went to Jae-yu's house and told Dong Bak that Shin Wong gave his subordinates permission to hunt and kill him. She said that their enemy was not only the eraser, there were many people who were after them right now. For that reason, she asked Dong Bak to be very careful. Suddenly, Sun Mai received a call from the investigation unit. Dong Bak gave Jae-eun a flash drive that contained the video of the confession that he had made. After that, Dong Bak and Sun Mai left that place to find Soo Nam. In the car, Sun Mai called Bong Guk and asked him to give her the location where Ah-young took her own life. She thought that they could find Soo Nam in that place. When Sun Mai and Dong Bak arrived there, they saw Soo Nam waiting for them at the rooftop. They went to the rooftop and asked Soo Nam about where Soo Kye-yeon was. Soo Nam showed her the suitcase beside him. He said that Soo Kye-yeon was still alive. Then he took off his mask and said that in order to create a better world, a true leader needed to show up. Soo Kye-yeon's husband, Jun Seok, was a former assemblyman, and Jun Seok's arrogant mother thought that money could buy everything in this world. Soo Nam said that the prosecutor, the police, and the media were parasites. It wasn't those people who were supposed to become the leaders, but the true leaders. Dong Bak told him that he could kill Soo Kye-yeon and he would play his game, but he needed to allow him to read his memory first. He said that he needed information to get rid of Pil-seon and Jun Seok. Then he touched Soo Nam and read his memory. He told Sun Mai that Soo Kye-yeon was being held captive in that building. As soon as Sun Mai heard that, she searched the building to find Soo Kye-yeon. Meanwhile, Dong Bak and Soo Nam got into a fight. During their fight, Dong Bak read Soo Nam's memory again. Soo Nam attacked him and cornered him. Dong Bak asked him about the eraser's true identity. In the building, Sun Mei finally managed to find Su Kaiyong. Su Kaiyong was unconscious, so Sun Mei tried to wake her up. Suddenly, a man came to the rooftop and shot Su Nam and Dong Baek. That man turned out to be Ki-su. But shortly after that, the special crime squad came to that place and shot Ki-su. Ki-su finally decided to take his own life. When Ki-su arrived in that place, he saw Ki-su lying dead on the floor. He called Shin Won and informed him that the eraser had died and Dong Baek got shot. He also said that National Intelligence Service suddenly came to that place. Shin Won asked him to follow them secretly. After that, Shin Won went to Pil-seen's apartment to meet with Jun Seok and Pil-seen. When he arrived there, he saw Jun Seok and Pil-seen watching Dong Baek's confession on television. In that confession, Dong Baek told everything that he found out when he was trying to catch the eraser. He said that 20 years ago, there was a bad man who hurt and killed an innocent man and a mother who hid the crime that had been committed by her son. The man and his mother were the reason why Su Kaiyong suffered right now. Dong Baek revealed that the man was the former assemblyman Jun Seok and his mother was a wealthy executive Pil-seen. He also revealed that the head of the entire police department, Shin Won, and the vice head of the local police department, Kai-su, helped Jun Seok and Pil-seen to cover up that murder case. Jun Seok and Pil-seen had bribed many people to cover up the murder and rape case that had been committed by Jun Seok and his gang. They paid people to fake the deaths of the victims so that it would look like they took their own life. 15 days later at the hospital, Dong Baek finally woke up from his faint. Sun Mai told him that the public was touched by his confession. There would be also a special hearing for Pil-seen and Jun Seok. Sun Mai said that everything would be alright in the end even though it was not easy for them. She appreciated Dong Baek for what he had done all this time, especially for his confession. She then asked him to take a rest and focus on his recovery so that he could get back to work soon. When Dong Baek headed back to his room, he saw the bodyguards in the hallway lying unconscious on the floor. He then entered his room and found a letter from the eraser on his bed. In that letter, the eraser told him that if he wanted to know about the truth, then he should meet him in the place where everything began. After reading that letter, Dong Baek rushed to the abandoned warehouse where the mass violence that killed 7 people back then took place. When he arrived there, he saw the eraser waiting for him in that place. The eraser took off his mask and called Dong Baek brother. In another place, Su-yeon gave a document about Sung Ju-ran to Sun Mai. In that document, it was revealed that Ju-ran had supernatural ability too. Suddenly, Su-yeon received information that Dong Baek had left the hospital. Sun Mai called the investigation unit and asked them to find Dong Baek's location. Su-yeon believed that Sung Ju-ran was the eraser. In the abandoned warehouse, Ki-su told Dong Baek that they used to play together in that place when they were a child. She said that Dong Baek was very cute back then. She was aware that Dong Baek's last memory about that place might be painful. She then called Dong Baek by his real name, Sung Ju-ho. She asked him to read her memory if he wanted to. She said that she could recover the memory that he had lost. Dong Baek touched her hand and began to read her memory. In Ki-su's memory, Dong Baek saw him and his sister, Sung Ju-ran, walking down the street together. Sung Ju-ran was Ki-su's real name. When Dong Baek and Ju-ran arrived at home, Dong Baek told his mother that his sister knew that he wanted to become a police officer even though he had never told her about it. His mother smiled when she heard that. She knew that Ju-ran could read a person's memory. After that, Dong Baek and his family had a lunch together. In her room, Ju-ran checked Ah-young's website. Turned out, Ju-ran and Ah-young were best friends. Ju-ran texted Ah-young and asked her about how she was doing, but Ah-young never returned her message. So she texted Yongda and asked him about Ah-young, but Yongda didn't return her message as well. She began to worry about Ah-young because of that. Suddenly, she received a call from Ah-young. Ah-young asked her for help. Ju-ran then headed to the hospital where Ah-young stayed. When she arrived there, she saw Ki-su guarding Ah-young's room. While Ki-su was answering his phone, Ju-ran sneaked into Ah-young's room. Ju-ran asked Ah-young about what happened, but Ah-young didn't answer her. Ah-young just asked her to give her voice recorder to her and told her to leave. Ju-ran asked if something bad had happened to her and offered to help her to erase her memory if that was the case. She said that it was better if a person didn't have bad memory. But Ah-young said that erasing her memory wouldn't change everything that had happened. A few days later, Ah-young passed away. Ju-ran was very saddened by her death. She realized that with her ability, she needed to erase people and not their memory. While she was leaving the funeral home, she ran into Kai-su and accidentally saw his memory. In Ki-su's memory, Ju-ran found out about what happened. She was furious when she found out about it. She finally decided to use her ability to do what she had to do. She took revenge on people who had mistreated her best friend, including Ah-young's doctor and psychiatrist. In April 2000 in Pil-seen's house, Pil-seen's bodyguard reported that Ah-young's doctor and psychiatrist had passed away. He also showed a picture of Ah-young sending a package to her friend. That picture was taken right before Ah-young committed suicide. Pil-seen asked him to get rid of everyone who knew about this murder and rape case. She didn't care if they were young or old. Everyone who knew about what Jun Seok had done needed to die. At home, Dong Baek received a package and gave it to his sister. After Ju-ran took it, she told Dong Baek to leave her room. Then she opened that package and found her voice recorder inside. She played that voice recorder and heard Ah-young telling the detail of the rape that happened to her. After that, Ju-ran told Jia-ju to kidnap Shin Won and take him to the abandoned warehouse. She threatened that she would hurt his daughter if he didn't do what she asked. While Jia-ju was taking Shin Won to the abandoned warehouse, Ju-ran waited for Jun Seok and his gang. Not long after that, Jun Seok's gang arrived in that place. Juran didn't see Jun Seok with them and asked them about where Jun Seok was. They said that Jun Seok was studying abroad. They agreed to come to that place because Juran promised them something exciting. In Dong Bak's house, Pilseon's bodyguards sneaked into that place. He went to Juran's room and looked for the package that was sent by Ah Young. But suddenly, Dong Bak and his mother arrived at home. When Dong Bak entered Juran's room, he saw the package and played the voice recorder. Pilseon's bodyguard, who was still hiding in that room, heard that recording and closed the door. Suddenly, Dong Bak's mother went to that room. That man attacked her with a hammer right away. In the abandoned warehouse, Juran erased all memories of Jun Seok's gang. She only left fear inside their mind. Because of that, those 7 young men began to violently attack each other. At home, Dong Bak kept calling his dying mother. He didn't know about what to do, so he finally grabbed his jacket and went out of the house to find his sister. In the abandoned warehouse, Shin Wong fell from his chair and accidentally opened the door to another room. Jeju entered that room and saw some men attacking each other there. He also saw the eraser in that room. After he saw Juran took off her mask, he ran away from that place. Dong Bak finally arrived in the abandoned warehouse and met his sister. Juran asked him about what happened and read his memory. In Dong Bak's memory, Juran saw their mother dying. She was surprised when she saw that. She asked Dong Bak to stay there and wait for her. After that, she left that place and headed home. Dong Bak entered the abandoned warehouse and saw people attacking each other there. Shin Wong saw him in that place. When Juran arrived at home, she suddenly collapsed. Meanwhile, Dong Bak lost his memory after he erased his own memory. Turned out Dong Bak and Juran had same supernatural ability. They could read, erase, and manipulate a person's memory. Not long after that, National Intelligence Service arrived at Dong Bak's house. They found Juran lying unconscious on the ground and took her with them. Back to the present time, Soo-yeon told Sun Me that they had been working with Juran since that time. In the abandoned building, Juran asked what was the point of possessing supernatural ability if they couldn't help those who needed their help and punish those who had committed crime. Then she removed the lid of the barrel that contained Pilseon's bodyguard. That man was the person who had killed Dong Bak and Juran's mother. Juran said that the law only helped those who had power and money, so the law was useless for them, and they couldn't rely on something useless like that. Then Juran gave a gun to Dong Bak and told him to kill that man. Dong Bak took that gun and aimed it at that man. But suddenly, he changed the direction of his gun and aimed it at Juran. He said that she had been spending too much time to read a monster's memory that she became a monster herself. Juran laughed when she heard that. She grabbed her gun back and shot that man to death. Dong Bak got frustrated and asked her why she became like that. He said that protecting people made them strong and they needed to fight until they died. It was also important for them not to get swallowed by their own memory. Dong Bak had a flashback about the time when he spent some time with his sister. Suddenly, Juran aimed her gun at him, but then she aimed it at her own head. At the same time, Sun Me and her team arrived in that place. They shot Juran and took her to the hospital. At the hospital, Dr. So-yoon said that Juran's injury was not serious, but she was not in good health condition. Soo-yeon then asked everybody to leave the room. She said that she would explain everything to Dong Bak. After they left, Soo-yeon told Dong Bak that she was tasked by the government to watch him and his sister. They had been isolating Juran for 20 years to protect her. They found out that Juran's health condition worsened each time she used her supernatural ability. Soo-yeon remembered that Juran went out of control when she came to their science laboratory for the first time. So her health condition was not good since the beginning and became even worse as time went by. Dong Bak said that he and his sister never asked the government to protect them. They were also not the national asset like what Soo-yeon told him. Soo-yeon realized that Dong Bak was mad. She promised that she would clear Juran's criminal record. But in return, Dong Bak needed to promise that he would never reveal any information that he received from National Intelligence Service. After saying that, Soo-yeon left that room. Meanwhile, Shin Won was watching the news about the investigation of the mass murder case that took place in an abandoned warehouse 20 years ago. In that news, it was reported that Shin Won got involved in that murder. When Shin Won's son woke up from his faint, he said that people had misjudged his father. In another room, Dong Bak was waiting for his sister to wake up. When Juran woke up, she said that Dong Bak looked very sweet. Dong Bak smiled and finally called her sister. Juran was happy when she heard that. It had been a while since Dong Bak called her sister. Dong Bak said that he used to be a sweet boy. He didn't murder everyone who got involved in crime case back then. Juran asked who would do such work if it wasn't him. She said that those bad people would live their life peacefully and wouldn't receive any consequences for their action if they didn't punish them. Dong Bak told her that Ah Young left her testimony. They could use their ability to reveal the truth to the world. Juran said that memory didn't have any power. No memory in this world, including her memory or Ah Young's memory, was capable to punish anyone. Juran then asked Dong Bak to read her memory. She said that it would help him to make decision. Dong Bak cried after he read his sister's memory. He asked her to allow him to erase all her bad memories. At the police station, Young Soo and his team arrested Do Soo for working for Shin Won. After Do Soo told them about everything, they arrested Shin Won too. There were 9 criminal cases that could send Shin Won to jail, including abuse of power. Dong Bak went to his old house. In that place, he saw his sister crying while watching the footage of Ah Young being raped by Jun Seok and his gang in the woods. Juran managed to get that footage while she was working as Jun Seok's secretary. She read Jun Seok's memory and saw Jun Seok kept that footage in the bookshelf. After she finished watching that footage, she kept the video camera inside a drawer. Sun Mei and her team went to Pilsean's house. Sun Mei showed the arrest warrant to Pilsean. She said that the police would arrest her for bribing, blackmailing, and contract killing. When Pilsean entered the interrogation room, she saw Shin Wong there. Shin Wong told her that he was there to be interrogated because he had committed many crimes. When he visited his son at the hospital, his son said that all those news about him were lies. He believed that Shin Wong was a good police officer, and he would believe in him until he died. Shin Wong corrected what the arrestor said by saying that the sinner would pay for what they did. He said that he had given all documents about the crimes that had been committed by Jun Seok and Pilsean to the police. Pilsean was angry when she heard that. She said that she wouldn't be in that room for a long time. Sun Mei told her that it wasn't necessary for her to be there for a long time because she would take her to her cell now. The police had enough evidence to send her to jail. Jung Yeon called Jun Seok and told him that he couldn't help his mother to get out of that place. Jun Seok was mad when he heard that. When he was about to get inside his car, Dong Baek suddenly came to that place and stopped him. Not long after that, Sun Mei and Si-hoon arrived there too. Dong Baek then showed Jun Seok the footage of him and his gang raping Ah-young. He said that the police would arrest him with that evidence. After that, the prosecutor Ji-suk and her team arrested Sik-do and Jong Yeon. Dong Baek kept his promise to make Ji-suk a famous prosecutor because of that. A few days later, Dong Baek visited Kyung Tan at the hospital. He was really worried about her. After that, he went to Yi Tae's room. He recovered Yi Tae's memory and left that room. When Sang-ah arrived, Yi Ta suddenly called her. Sang-ah was surprised and happy to see that her husband finally recognized her. After that, Dong Baek met with Dr. So-yoon in her room. Dr. So-yoon told him that he had fully recovered. Dong Baek was happy when he heard that. He believed that it was because of her that he managed to recover and get back his memory from 20 years ago. At the police station, Sun Mei gave her resignation letter to Young Soo. She said that she had decided to quit her job as a police officer and become a lawyer. When she came out of the room, she was greeted by all police officers in that place. Those police officers said their farewell to her. Sun Mei thanked them for working with her all this time even though she was still very young and arrogant. In another place, Yoo Jae-yeon presented the news about Pilsean and Jun Seok. She reported that Pilsean and Jun Seok were sentenced to 20 years and 18 years in prison for murdering, raping, and bribing. It appeared that Jae-yeon didn't work at TVC anymore. She was working at OBC now. In his cell, Jun Seok was seen crying. The next day, a prison officer went to Pilsean's cell and told Pilsean that her son Jun Seok committed suicide another night. Pilsean was beyond shocked when she heard that. The next scene revealed that Sun Mei was working as a lawyer at her own office. After she left the police, Bong Guk left the police too and decided to work for her. Not long after that, Dong Baek, Kyung Tan, and Si-hoon came to that place to congratulate her for her office opening. The Special Crime Squad and Jae-yeon also came to that place to congratulate her. Then all of them took a good picture together. Later, Dong Baek and Sun Mei were walking together. Dong Baek told Sun Mei that he would use his supernatural ability to help as many people as he could. Sun Mei held out her hand and thanked him for everything. Dong Baek reached her hand and said that he couldn't wait to work together with her again.